your C words out of the way.
Are we allowed to make
right now? You were so lucky I didn't actually say that.
Oh my!
That was a close call.
I mean, you kind of do it to yourself. It's not like anybody else. You know, you don't have to do the cold open. You don't have to.
Well, I don't monetize while it's live, so that people can just enjoy the stream, and I can edit it before I re-upload it, so it's okay.
I don't understand people who do put like midstream ads in their streams.
Those are terrible.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I don't get that either,
awful.
Mr. Brown. If you're listening, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
Terrible.
They're pretty. Yeah, it pretty much makes them unwatchable on like live if they're happening, because it's like it'll just randomly switch to the ad, and then you'll miss what was just said. You're like, okay, well, what was the point? Yeah.
You guys never spent any time on Twitch, did you? I can
No.
tell.
I have more than 5 brain cells. Of course, I've never been
I have standards. That's my thing.
Just
Also
buy YouTube
standards.
Premium. That's what it's beautiful.
Backface is
I haven't
like
seen an
first
ad
time?
in like 5 years.
I prefer YouTube Premium. I have it too.
Oh, it's supreme.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am Movie Cynic. We are on my channel today. And I have with me, of course, my co-host, Little Platoon.
Good evening.
Yes, and all channel regulars today. Bagface, DarkHour. Actually, Andrew, you are familiar faces to everyone in the chat, I'm sure. So we can get right to it then. First things first is Mission Impossible 7. We'll do the thing that other people do. We'll go clockwise so that we can hear what everyone thinks about it briefly. Little Platoon, let's start with you because I know you got a hot take.
If Mission Impossible Fallout is somewhere like a 7 out of 10, then Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is at best 2.5.
Woo! Damn.
It's really not a good film. It really is not a good film at all. Like, the minute you start applying any kind of thought process to it, or you ask any basic question, the whole thing falls apart. And I've heard the argument several times, but it's an action film. Action films are always silly, or it's Mission Impossible, and Mission Impossible is always meant to be silly. And then I went back and watched Mission Impossible Fallout, and none of that is true, because that's actually a really good film. And this one just isn't. This is appalling. The action sequences themselves are quite good fun. I'll give it that. Some of the stunt work is good. Some of the acting very selectively is good. The dialogue is laughable. It does sound like South Park level parody. You sacrifice important characters as though they're not important characters in order to reintroduce characters who the film wants to be important but haven't been set up. And the main thing is the fact that the villain is just... I don't even know how you begin to unpack the entity, the AI villain, and all of its many vast, enormous powers that are there right up until the moment that they're not. And the quest for the keys, which makes no goddamn sense because, for many reasons I can come on to later, I don't want to hog the thing. But yeah, I think it's benefiting immensely from how shit everything around it is, and the fact that it isn't Marvel, and the fact that it isn't quote-unquote woke means everyone is saying, it's a masterpiece, and trust me, it's not. We spent 8 hours breaking this down on EFAP on Saturday, and it's not a masterpiece.
Yeah, I noticed your disdain for the movie has grown since you were on EFAP. So
yeah, because then I had to watch it again, and then pull it apart a bit more than I did in the theater at the time. And that's it's one of those things that really does not benefit from close attention. If you just breeze through it the first time, it's fine. But the minute you start saying, "Hang on a minute," so you're telling me that the Russians have a key to their super sonar thing, which the AI is in, and they need the keys to get to the super sonar thing, but the Russians made it, so why haven't they just made a new key? And then you think, well, okay, because if they did that, the film wouldn't work, but that's not actually a justifiable reason in universe, is it? So, no.
Yeah, for a lot of movies, it is the second viewing that'll get you. I only watched it the one time, so I can't argue any of your points because I listened to some of EFAP and I'm like, yeah. I'm actually really impressed that you enjoyed Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout was good.
Yeah, Fallout's because if you remember on Monday, I had just watched it like a couple hours before, and I was like on a hot streak. That was such a good movie, and I was really surprised it took me 5 years to see it. I didn't know it was that good.
Because I even lost track of which Mission Impossible films I'd seen, and I hadn't seen any of them in years. So I was prepared to go along with the it was always meant to be silly argument. But then, yeah, it was Morley did the recap at the beginning of EFAP and recommended that afterwards that I go and watch Fallout and Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation didn't do too much for me, but Fallout I did really like. So, yeah. That's a high watermark.
Who's calling it a masterpiece, though?
I've seen a few people. I mean, you will find quite a few people say it's a masterpiece or it's a really great film. It just generally is getting an awful lot of praise that I really don't think it deserves.
Yeah, because after I watched it and we talked, I said I had a lot of fun, and that's where I stuck with it. Like I did, it was certainly not a masterpiece. I still like Fallout way better and Mission Impossible 3. But Bagface, what did you think of it?
Well, you didn't let me out of the basement in time for me to actually see
what
this
you
movie.
said you were seeing it this weekend.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I had to
My
make
meme
this
was
look
true.
like this to yeah. And I don't know if anyone has me on Twitter. I posted my YouTube setup for all of this, and it's very extensive. You know, you don't look this good with zero effort. So I was a little busy, but from what I've heard, I feel like it's one of those movies where like you can't be Platoon to enjoy it in a sense. You know, it's more like a theme park ride than a piece of art. And yeah,
I am sure that Ghost Mountain has fewer plot holes than this film does.
You like I'm still excited to see. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow, and I got IMAX tickets, which I'm pretty stoked for. And yeah, I feel like, you know, it's not bad to have movies where there's a ton of contrivances and a couple plot holes, and like it doesn't make it a good film by any means, but I feel like if the purpose of it was to try and entertain, and it does that really well, which I think I've seen a lot of people say that it's like very entertaining, I think I'll enjoy it. You can spoil whatever you want to. I'm good.
Man, yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for you though. It's still like, you know, it's still a movie. I still want you to enjoy it. DarkHour, what did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. It wasn't the best in the series. I agree with everybody on that. Fallout was better, if I recall correctly. Ghost Protocol was really damn good. Which one was that? Which was the one when you ran down the building?
Ghost Protocol was 4.
Was that the one you ran down the building?
Yeah, the one in Dubai.
Yeah, that I really like that one. It's, you know, it's definitely like it's actually kind of hard to like differentiate them sometimes, but it was a little on the long side, though I didn't get bored the entire time, so that was pretty good. I mean, I'm sure on a rewatch I'd probably be like, okay, this could be trimmed, this could be trimmed. None of the characters really like annoyed me, which is a pretty solid thing nowadays, because there's usually that like one solid character that's like that one character that just is there and a nuisance the entire time. Might have been Simon Pegg, but he wasn't on screen for that much.
No,
so like I did find it a little weird. Like just randomly thought of this, that like Ving Rhames just midway through the movie, just like, peace out, guys, I gotta leave.
I have to go now. My planet needs me, and off he goes. Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed Gabriel and like the dynamic. I always like the concept of like you need to stop this guy, but you can't kill him for like a reason. And in this particular instance, he has information that you need. I always like that dynamic because it puts the protagonist at an immediate disadvantage that they have to work through. So I always like that. But yeah, I mean, I've only watched it the one time, so I can't really sit there and be like, this doesn't make sense, because I haven't gone that far yet. But I thought Haley Atwell did a great job. I thought, like, considering the fact she's very often been like just a cameo person in like recent years, she kind of missed like the golden, like that like really good spot of her career. And now she's like 41 now. And
because she looks fucking great.
Yeah, well, that's because she hasn't like really been working. She's doing cameos, so it's like, you know. But so she kind of missed that like, you know, 25 to 35 range. That's like that like chunk that actresses really feed on. So I'm wondering where that's going to go with the whole setup for her possibly being the person to take over for this, because that's what it seems like the route that seems they're going. So I'm wondering how that's going to work. But it's overall, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the second part. You know, there was people as I was leaving that were actually excited for the second part, which is not something I see coming out of theaters very often anymore. A lot of times I come out and you just have people being like, okay, that was a movie, I guess. So
just don't expect her to take over the franchise, whatever you do, because I am pretty sure that when Fallout first comes out and when Rogue Nation first comes out, by the end of Fallout, people would have been saying, oh yeah, Ilsa Faust, she's with the team now. She's really important. There's actually a line of dialogue in Fallout where Ving Rhames explains to Tom Cruise, there's only, explains to her, sorry, there's only 2 women that Ethan has ever cared about, and one of them is you. And it's incredibly important, and it's a really nice scene, and it sets her up going forward, and the film closes, and it's implied that they are going to be together, and she's going to be working with them, and then you see Dead Reckoning, and you think, oh yeah, the film didn't remember that. That's all gone now. Fuck it. We need a new woman. But if they can replace somebody so important that quickly, don't be surprised if there's a Mission Impossible 9, for example, that Haley Atwell just isn't in at all, because they frequently forget everything that happened in the previous film.
The only reason I'm saying that is because they've pretty much, like, they haven't 100% confirmed it, but it's been heavily implied that this is the end of the line for Tom Cruise in the series. So it might just be an attrition thing at that point, that she was the one that was left at the end of that, like of this like cycle of going through characters, like you're saying. So that's a possibility. But you know, I who knows? He could just decide that he never wants to stop doing them. He's the one producing them. So. Yeah.
And Andrew, what did you think of the movie?
It's a part 1. It's not a complete movie. 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
I'm kidding. This was my first Mission Impossible movie. I've seen none of the other ones. And so I kind of went in like, how much am I going to have to like keep up here? And there was a point in the movie where I was like, oh wait, I have to turn my brain on for this. And then
that's a bad idea. Don't do it.
And then immediately after I thought that, there was a giant exposition dump scene. So I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't have to turn my brain on for this movie.
They got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was like, okay, they're just gonna hold my hand. But like, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Good. I don't know. I thought the more and more I thought about it, I didn't really like the humor. And Haley Atwell's character was insufferable. I didn't like her.
Really?
Yeah, the more I thought about it, she was just more and more annoying. And like Tom Cruise's character, like he's like, oh, I care about this person so much. And I'm just like, why? She's like hijacked your entire mission to save the world from this spooky AI. Why do you care about her so much?
There's this one specific scene, isn't there, when they're he's presented with what seems to be a choice. One of the women he loves, I don't know why the fuck he loves her, but one of them is going to have to die tonight in order that the key appear before Gabriel on the Orient Express the next day, because the AI has predicted all of this stuff.
And you're sitting there and you're thinking,
okay, so you've got this choice. You've got Ilsa Faust. She's been with me for several films. The last films have taken care to set up the fact that I, Ethan Hunt, really, really like her. She's one of the only women in the world that I do like. She's one of the only people I'm feasibly close to. Versus Grace. Grace I met 5 minutes ago. In that 5 minutes, I've met her 3 separate times. And on each one of those times, she has either tried to kill me, or she's left me in deep shit, or she's tried to run away, or she's tried to do something that disadvantages me. What choice am I being asked to make here exactly? Because that's not much of a choice in my book.
I can give you two big reasons why he would choose Grace, but that's where I'm leaving it.
Number one, she's a woman and he's a simp.
That went right over your head, Andrew.
Yes, it did.
Right over.
And
like,
I
it was
was
like
ashamed of it.
He's young. He's too young to know about boobs yet. Don't worry. He'll catch up.
Well, also the movie kept a really good job of keeping those fuckers down. They were pretty well hidden, unlike the red carpet events that she attended.
Or my video.
Yeah, or your video. I did watch your video right before we got on here, by the way. Well done.
7 straight boob puns. It was fantastic. Everyone should check it out.
Yeah. And the thumbnail.
Well, that was you basically were like, you need to change it, and I was like, well, this is what people actually want, so I'm just gonna go with this.
Did it work?
And then like
barely.
Rebecca Ferguson's
went up by 0.1%.
Rebecca Ferguson's character is just like, she just dies, and it's just like, okay. And the thing that annoyed me was like in the intro of the movie, we're shown that she's an incredibly talented sniper. So like she knows what to do with guns. And then during her fight with Gabriel, she just pulls out a sword. And I was just like, okay. I don't know.
Didn't they take all their guns while they were in the club?
You're telling me that during the fight scene when she knocks out several of them, she couldn't have nicked someone's gun like she was shown doing several times in the previous films?
Guns. Like, the entire time I'm just thinking, guys, guns are incredibly effective weapons. You guys should be using them way more often. Like,
But she still
the
shouldn't
fact
have. Well,
that
she has. So for context, for anyone in chat who either hasn't seen it or doesn't remember it, which does seem to be how these films maintain their popularity. There's a bridge. They're all running away from this club that they've met up. Grace, who is the thief, has been running away until this moment. Gabriel, big bad guy, the sort of surrogate for the AI bad guy who is just insane, is waiting for her on the bridge. Grace is unarmed. Grace always runs away from fights. That's kind of her thing. But in this one particular moment, she decides, nah, fuck it. I'm going to try and punch him. So that's what she does. Lo and behold, she gets knocked out. She gets rescued by Ilsa Faust, who has not stolen a gun from anyone. She hasn't come armed. She does have a sword from somewhere, though. And so she decides to get into a fight with Gabriel, who only has a knife, versus her sword. She, being very good at shooting people, also very good at like melee fighting, loses with her sword to guy with knife. She's dead. That somehow means that the thing the AI predicted about one of the magic keys ending up at Gabriel's feet on the Orient Express the day after, because Tom Cruise parachutes in through a wall and knocks it out of somebody's hand, will come to pass, because that's how this film works. My God.
Yeah, and then when Gabriel just has this tiny knife and then Rebecca has the sword, I couldn't help but think just Looney Tunes. Like, it was just Looney Tunes. Actually, no, it was Tom and Jerry specifically. There's an episode of Tom and Jerry where they duel with swords.
There was an aspect of that scene. The funny part is the good part of that scene is actually the other part of it. The being what is it? Ethan being led on a wild goose chase by the AI, which is the only time they actually directly interact throughout the entire movie.
See, I think if you forget the fact that they should have seen that coming, it looks quite good. It does drum up the tension, and his getting trapped in an alleyway, it's an effective fight scene. However, about half an hour to an hour ago, they've had the conversation where they say, hey, you know what? Maybe the AI is actually wanting us to do all of these things. Maybe it's in our technology. Maybe it can manipulate us. And there he is in this scene. In order to manufacture getting him away from the main fight scene, they just kind of forget that the AI can do that. And so he just runs off and believes that the AI, his tech is permanently untouched by the AI. It's perfectly trustworthy. That's what gets him away. So I agree that it looks cool, but he is contrived as fuck. And a lot of, that's another common feature in this film.
You just don't want me to like this movie, do you?
No, I'm fine if you like. I'm fine if you like the movie, but yeah.
I don't know. I liked the concept of like the way that they did it. Whether or not there was actually they should have seen that coming. It's fine. The fact that it was done, like, it was the first time that they actually interact, and the only time that they actually interacted vocally with one another. I thought it was pretty good. And I said in my review, it actually reminded me of some of the stuff they used to do in Ghost in the Shell, where, like, you know, they would intercept comms and stuff, and like kind of like synthesize voices in that way. And I thought that was pretty cool. That was of that scene, that half of the scene I like better. I do agree that someone fighting with a full-on sword versus a knife, the sword should win every time. So,
also in the alleyway scene, he's fighting Mantis. Mantis is like done, and then he's about to hit her with a steel pipe, and then he just decides not to. And I'm just like, I don't know.
That is so important later. Like, her character until this point, she is just a maniac. She is this blonde psycho killer who gets in big cars, runs people over, and cackles. She tries to kill him several times. He beats her in a fight and spares her life, and she basically says at that point, "Oh, okay, then you're my friend now." And
I am no longer a
she goes and
psychopath.
saves his life. It's just fucking hell.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, Tom Cruise really likes women in this movie, like, for some reason. So the two women that he cares about are, like,
for some reason,
like, going to die. And then so you have this maniac who's like in his way in the alleyway. Like, there's no reason that he shouldn't just bash her head in. Like, she is stopping the mission to end the world. Just delete her.
Well, if you remember in Fallout, I think it's Fallout. There's
Am I
the
a
scene
psychopath?
when there's these group of armed people, and one of them shoots a policewoman, and because they are threatening to kill the policewoman, he kills all of them, and he also changes his plans entirely because he cannot brook the possibility that his actions will accidentally lead to police people being killed. So, like, he's shown being very, very careful about the lives of law enforcement people and other innocent types. And he's shown being quite vengeful when other people do not show the same care or regard for their lives. Here is a character who's probably killed dozens of them on her mad rampage through Venice. And he looks at her and says, yeah, no, you're fine. Because I'm going to need you to save me later, although I don't know it yet, but that's what the script needs to happen. So she has to live. Because character consistency is also not necessarily a good thing in this film.
I swear, if Rebecca Ferguson's character is still alive, I'm going to... I don't know.
You're gonna do what?
I'm just gonna leave. I'll just leave the theater. I'll just please stop, movie. You stabbed her in the heart.
2 fake out deaths. That would be 2 of them. No character deserves 2 fake out deaths.
What about 3? Doesn't Megatron have 2 fake out deaths? Or no, he just dies
in the live action or in general?
Yeah, in the live action.
I was gonna say in general, it's probably about 30 fake out deaths. But
didn't Trinity die twice in the Matrix sequels?
No, once.
Do we acknowledge the existence of the Matrix sequels? I thought they were commonly regarded as a bad idea.
I mean, they were definitely a bad idea. They do unfortunately exist.
She almost dies, doesn't she? And then he puts his hand inside her.
No, because her heart stops and he massages it back to life.
Yeah, so she's not brain dead. It's just that the scene is brain dead.
Look, I don't think you want to get into a debate about like the logistics of the Matrix while we're talking about this. That could go.
I frequently put my hands inside people's bullet wounds and reach all the way up to their hearts and then start rubbing them to bring them back to life. That's a very sensible thing to do.
He says, Trinity, you can't die. I love you too damn much.
That was a pretty good impression, actually.
It's pretty easy. It's very monotone.
So I should be able to do it perfectly then.
If you just learn to code better, you could do those things too. That's all that is. Just
all coding.
It's /reset. That's what it is. The code for that. It's easy.
I did enjoy MI7, but I'm not going to sit here and argue all of the points you guys made because I saw them and they are there. Like, what are you going to do? But no, I genuinely enjoyed it anyway. It's not the best in the series by any stretch. I still believe part 3 is Platoon. If you haven't seen it, and Andrew too, you should watch it just to see what you guys think.
I haven't seen that one in forever. I have to go back and rewatch the old ones.
I'll probably watch 3 and then Fallout is on my list.
Just watch them in order. What the hell is wrong with you? Just watch them.
I don't want to watch 7 movies.
If you watch them in order, then you have to watch Mission Impossible 2, and I'm told that's a painful experience.
That would be a mistake if you watch part 2.
That movie's sick.
I don't care about Mission Impossible movies that much.
That movie's like the perfect like titular early 2000s like action movie vibe.
I mean, he's climbing a mountain with no equipment in the opening 30 seconds of the film.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
With like the glasses throw in slow motion off.
Oh my god!
Oh my!
You know what?
Limp Bizkit just killing it on the soundtrack the whole time.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not watching 3 anymore. I'm watching 2. This sounds more exciting.
Just watch 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. There's this thing called an order of movies that were released, and you could just follow that.
That's too many.
Which one has the like brain implant that like blows that chick's eye all fucked up? Is that 3?
That's 3.
Yeah, okay. That one also fucking rips. Yeah.
Whoever
said 3 is shit, you're shit. I'm kidding.
3 was
I
good.
love you.
3 was good.
1 we hate you.
2 was rough. 3 was good, and then it was Ghost Protocol was good. I don't really remember Rogue Nation. That's the one I kind of forget.
I'd say part 3 has one of my favorite on-screen villains ever, which is played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And it's he's not a massive part in the movie, like he only has so many scenes, but he does everything he can with those scenes. It's not over the top at all. It's a less is more character, and that's what makes him so terrifying. He feels like an actual threat to Ethan Hunt. And you're not ever going to get a villain that's that fucking good in this series ever again either, because it was just masterfully played by one of the best actors ever. So, but if you enjoyed Fallout, 3 is so different than Fallout. Genuinely interested to see what you guys think of that one. But
also, it's hard to know exactly how much of the preceding ones you really need to watch, because the guy who wrote Dead Reckoning is also the guy who wrote Fallout, who is also the guy who wrote Rogue Nation, and I think the one preceding that as well. Mm-hmm. So he's one of the only people who's actually got, besides Tom Cruise himself, who's got long-standing interest in and actually, has a hand in writing basically the last 3 to 4 films in the franchise. And he said in an interview, apparently for Dead Reckoning, that he didn't want to have too much continuity because he didn't want people to feel like they had to go back and rewatch the older films in order to make sense of Dead Reckoning, which is fine. But then why bring back Ilsa Faust? Why bring back Kittredge from the first film? Why bring back all of these other people?
There were a
Why
lot
make
of
reference
throwbacks
to the women that Tom Cruise has lost, but then forget that he also had a wife? So that's not in. Why invent history when you have so much history you can use in order to randomly insert a new villain in the form of Gabriel, who apparently has some big backstory element involved in him, and in the intervening period has become chief death messiah of this cyber Satan thing? Like, none of that makes any sense. And if you actually had more of a mind to your own continuity, you could actually pay off a lot of these things much better than you do in Dead Reckoning. But he seems to want to have it both ways. You don't need to watch all of them, but also here are all of these cameos and these relationships that you need to have seen in older films for them to have any emotional weight in this one at all.
Yeah, and Macquarie did a lot of camera work that was reminiscent of Brian De Palma's style. He did a lot of those weird Dutch angles that, if you ever go back and rewatch the first movie, Brian De Palma directed it, and it's very much a De Palma movie. And like the scene that kind of closes the second act right before Ilsa passes away, that entire scene in that club area is shot with Dutch angles, and it's exposition heavy, and it's very reminiscent of the original film. It almost felt like a callback to that scene in the first movie when Kittredge is actually talking to Ethan about like whatever the fucking plot was, the typical MI plot, which is Ethan, we know you've gone rogue. So here's the rest of the movie now. That sets up the rest of the
He's
film.
gone rogue approximately 7 times in 7 movies. So.
Yes.
And I like the fact that in this one, in Dead Reckoning, is the first time anyone has thought to say your habitual rogue behavior will not be tolerated. Like, all the other times, that's fine. This, though, that was the last straw. The last time you did it, no more. After that, you have to obey us this time.
That was such a wink. And my entire audience, like, we all laughed at that because we're all familiar at this point of that trope in the MI series. It's just like, yeah, he's gone rogue again. That's
they
what
literally
he does.
have one called Rogue Nation. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But so I'm actually a little bit more willing to give this movie a little bit of a pass because of how ridiculous their production cycle was and all the problems that happened with it. So I'm willing to give it a little bit of leeway, not a crazy amount. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, it could have been complete trash, and I'm just going to be like, I enjoyed it because you guys tried really hard. But, you know, like, there was a lot of things that went wrong throughout this whole thing. Some were obviously COVID related, but then there was just like, Emilio Estevez still dead in the series. Emilio Estevez hasn't been in anything in quite a while, actually.
Emilio Estevez has been dead since 15 minutes into the first film. Yep.
Yeah.
Still dead.
But, like, you know, like, even being told, like, you know, they had like the whole setup where they were going to actually blow up a bridge in Poland. And then they were like, somebody, like, basically a bunch of people showed up and like, no, this is now a historic bridge and you're not allowed to do this. And they were like, they had to like take down all their explosives and stuff. It was like,
oh, fine, I'll put it back in my bag.
Like, literally, there was like the I don't remember what it was, but it was like the Polish Historical Bridge Society or some shit. Like, basically told them they couldn't do it. Like, it was
apparently there is a bit in the credits where because there's the bit in Venice when Mantis drives her Jeep off of a Roman staircase and seemingly destroys it. Apparently, I've not seen it. Apparently, there is a bit in the credits which is assuring people that that was in fact CGI. They didn't really destroy the ancient Roman staircase.
No stairs were harmed in the making of this film.
No stairs were harmed in the making of the film.
I know that there was some actors that were signed on that dropped out, say to rewrite some parts, which may also account for random bits where it was like just exposition heavy to cover parts. And like, they probably could have just trimmed it out. But like, I am willing to give them a little bit of a pass on certain things because of that. Now, you know, like I said, I'm not going to give them like a full, you know, pass on it, but there were some problems. But
there were, but the problem with the COVID era defense is that it really has limited application to writing choices, because fine if you have to change characters, fine if you have to change settings and scenery, that's okay. But when your main villain, for example, is this super powerful, ultra efficient AI entity, which has become self-aware off screen in the backstory, and we've been told that it has broken into every single major international organization. All the national defense grid is penetrated. The stock exchange is penetrated. Global finance is under its control. Everything is under its control except for global intelligence services, which the film seems to think is truth itself, because, you know, the CIA is famous for being the bastions of truth and integrity.
Yes,
once you've written a character who can do that, once you've said that this is what your AI character has already done, then it's already won. What's its goal? Is its goal to wipe out or to dominate humanity, which the film seems to think that it is? Yes. Okay, then. Well, it's already got control of all of the nukes, all of the money, all of the governments, all of everything. So what is left to be gained by this? And then if it is so vastly capable, why is it that it's so shit when the film needs it to be? Like, that's not a production problem. That's just a bad writing problem. And I don't think COVID can explain that.
I can agree with you on that I do think that when you do make a like omniscient, omnipresent villain such as that, you need to account for a lot more things that they did not. I really thought that maybe they shouldn't have, maybe the key itself should have been explained as like the reason why it wants it is because it can unlock its like ability to go into certain aspects, and it's like it's still kind of on lockdown. They could have fixed it that way. And that's why it has people hunting down the key, not necessarily just like, oh, I don't want anybody to have it. But yeah, like for this particular movie, I never really felt like it was the actual villain. I always felt it was Gabriel the entire time. That was just the way I always...
Gabriel is taking instructions, as we see, because he has the weird cyber coffin for some fucking reason. So
that was weird.
On the train, he sleeps in a coffin, getting messages from the Entity, which is legitimately called the Entity. What a shit name for a villain! But getting messages from the Entity beamed into his head via coffin on the Orient Express. What am I watching here? What's going on?
Yeah, that I have zero answer of that for you. I don't know what the hell that was about.
No, Gabriel is like the most comic booky of villains in this series so far. It's like
they even give them comic book lines that Tom Cruise legitimately says at one point, I should have killed you when I had the chance or something. It's just like fucking dialogue, man.
And then Tom Cruise is like, if one of these two women gets hurt, I will, there's nowhere you can run where I cannot find you. That is written. And I'm just like, all right, little Snyder fan over here doing biblical
considering the fact
references.
Considering the fact I'm in a room with literally thousands of comics around me, which eventually people will see this room, by the way. I am remodeling the whole thing, so I don't need this green screen.
Do it.
I'm going to. It's always in flux. But yeah, considering the fact I have that, I'm probably more okay with comic booky sounding lines than a lot of people. So I will admit that might be a character fault of mine, actually.
I don't think so. I had a massive wall of comic books too. So if you, that's a character flaw.
No, I'm saying it might be a character flaw that I am actually like just okay with over the top comic booky style lines.
I don't know. It's like that's kind of what I expect when I think of Mission Impossible. It's not always there. It's not always applicable. When I go back and actually watch the films, I'm like, oh, I guess this wasn't as like superhero-y comic booky every single time as I anticipated. But I don't know. Gabriel is like what I expected. He's always, for me, going to be compared to Philip Seymour Hoffman anyway. So like any villain after him was going to be compared, and it's just not going to happen. I hope in part 2 he has a little more to sink his teeth into, because I forget his name. Who's the person's name that plays Gabriel?
Asai Morales.
Asai, yeah. He's a really talented actor. So
yeah, I thought he did pretty well with what he was given. Like, he actually had he felt menacing when he said certain things. Like,
he looks the part.
He definitely looks the part too. Like, he looks like a grizzled veteran of whatever the hell he's supposed to be. It's like
AI. He's coding all day.
He's coding. No, and that was kind of interesting that there was times where he even kind of spoke in a way that was kind of mechanical, almost as if oh, I represent something that is like that anyway, so I'm going to speak that way. I liked him. I thought he was good. Like I said, it's not the greatest representation of all time. There was better villains in the movie, but I'm just in a vacuum, I liked him the way he worked and the way it all worked out.
Carrie Elwes is in this movie too, and that dude is just a shitty actor. I'm just going to say it.
Who was that?
The guy from The Princess Bride,
Oh yeah. He was
the
director of Homeland Security or whatever.
Yeah,
the director of National Intelligence, I think, is his actual role, and he's the only person in the room full of other people who doesn't know what's going on. It's hilarious. So there's the bit when because they have to do this huge expo dump about what the AI has done, and so they've got all of these sinister South Park villain CIA goons in the room explaining what the Entity has done. It's been doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they're already backing up, and I think the exact quote is their fact-positive knowledge centers, which entails typewriting digital information down because otherwise the AI will get it or something. But they explain all of this, and the director of national intelligence is sitting there, and he's the only person who hasn't heard about any of this. And you're thinking, well, why are you even in your job? How do you not know about all of this?
Why do you see a bunch of people typing? Like, how does this guy not know?
That reminded me of the scene in Independence Day when, like, they're like, oh, the president doesn't know what's going on. He's like, oh, it was plausible deniability. You didn't know. It's like,
Yeah.
That reminded me a lot of that scene.
He reminded me of
Were you gonna ask something?
I was gonna ask something like generally, but more to Platoon, which is like, do you think, like, I know the COVID excuse is played out, but I know post-COVID, like during COVID, they put a lot of writers into like Zoom meetings instead of in rooms, which is kind of understandable. But I feel like that probably has a fair impact on, like, because if this dude wrote Fallout and wrote this and there's like a significant drop off, do you think it has anything to do with like not being able to communicate like in a room with people and actually bounce ideas and like get those plot holes filled?
I don't think so, because like, I'm in writers' rooms every day at the moment, and they're all via Zoom. And nothing about being in Zoom, if anything, it helps because you can share the same document, you can all edit on the document, so you can all write and edit things and discuss them as you go. If anything, it streamlines the process. I suspect that the reason... Engagement-wise, again, no, because like we're in meetings every day for hours every day, and everyone is instantly available all the time. You've got Slack, you've got all of these different communication channels. If something comes up that you all need to discuss, you just call an additional meeting, schedule it in, it's all fine. And in my experience, it's been really helpful to have that as opposed to not have it. If anything, I think the fact that there's such a drop-off just means they didn't have any... the guy had already told his story. The story he wanted to tell ended with Fallout. And this one has come along, and they basically got together. And there is the interview, I think, where the first conversation they had is, what stunt do you want to do in this film? As opposed to, what story do you want to tell in this film?
Yeah.
I just don't think they had any particular ideas for how to continue the story, except that they wanted to do another film, and that's it. And so there's a huge number of set pieces that this film just borrows directly from Fallout anyway. Loads of the ingredients from the previous films have just been cut and pasted in, but out of order and without context, and most of them lead nowhere. So I just think I don't think it's a problem of communication. I just think it's a problem of lack of ideas and the sense that, well, we have to get something out, so this might as well be it.
How meta would it be if you found out at the end of this that they wrote the script purely with AI? Like, it would be super meta.
I would not be surprised.
Like, if they just did that, they were like, "Oh no, it was AI all along."
They also did this. Let me see if I can screen share this. Can you see this?
You haven't. I don't think you've added to the stream yet. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, because I can't see it when I do that.
There you go.
In terms of production, I thought it was really good.
Did anyone pick up on this in the finale?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could possibly not make this connection.
Yeah, if you've played the game, you know where they got that from.
That was a great scene, though.
It was still a fantastic
really good
scene, though. Yeah. Even it's one of those situations, where Ethan's going to live, but it's still like, oh shit, how's he gonna make it out? So cool. That was genuinely like a palm sweating situation for me, even though there's going to be another one. Tom Cruise is going to be in the next one. He's going to live. But it was still just really well made.
I do think that was a great example of, what is it? Grace. I was about to say Haley Atwell. It doesn't matter. But
same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Showing that she's not like completely, like, the whole train sequence in general was a really good example of her not being just this girl boss who just powered through
can do everything,
and is comfortable with all situations. It starts right from the beginning where she's not particularly okay with trying to be somebody else. Then when she's running away, she hears a gunshot go off, and she like freezes up and completely shuts down. And then that continues as it goes along. Like, she does things, but it's always with the urgence of, the urging of Ethan along the way, assuring her things. That I thought was very well done for a character that she's never been in these situations. She would not I think she's like holding on to him at one point, if I recall, and like he won't let go, and he's like, no, you have to let go of me. I can't jump.
Yeah, that's on the train itself. Yeah. She paralyzed. There's a couple of moments of they're sort of paralyzed by fear. She is definitely the high point of the film. I think she's well performed.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
Yeah, she definitely she did awesome. It makes me sad that they took this long for her to like really kind of flex the muscles, so to say, of being a leading lady. She did Captain America, and then like nothing.
Yeah,
and then died.
Yeah,
she had the cameo, didn't she? Yeah, she had a very important cameo in Multiverse of Madness.
They made a Carter show for
Yeah, but
Marvel
it's
before
like
Disney Plus, and some people have said it's pretty good. I heard Mahler say it was pretty all right, at least the first season.
I think
So
that like it's still like there's a difference between being given like the lead of a show and being the lead in like a feature film like this.
yeah,
There's still
yeah,
like
there's a
a
difference,
huge
like
difference
because
there. There's a trust
barely
level
anyone,
there.
yeah, barely anyone knows about Agent Carter, the show,
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's pretty much been lost.
Yeah, and it could have been a fantastic show, but like it was really low risk for that show. If it failed,
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
Yeah, wasn't it
And-
on ABC? It was one of those situations.
Yeah, it was the same with
like
Agents of Shield.
Yeah.
If you ask Bob Iger, Marvel never did TV before, 2 years
That's
ago.
true.
so
Bob
that show
Iger has
didn't
no
exist.
idea.
Yeah.
Man,
But yeah,
that
I
guy
thought
is something else.
I like
He
that.
is.
I would say that the whole train, and I don't just mean the train falling off. I mean like all the way back to when they first get her on the train was a fantastic range for her, from building some confidence as she went along to then immediately losing it again. And then like every little facet in between, she has like a moment of like, I can just get out of here with all this money and no one would frickin' know. Like,
yeah, I thought Vanessa Kirby was really good playing two different people as the same.
She was
person.
great.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Like, her scenes
She
talking to that
was.
guy, I thought it was good.
Except, of course, oh god. So, again, for anyone in chat who isn't familiar with the film,
I should differentiate. There is a point when she's not her anymore.
She has to wear a mask. They have to wear a mask to infiltrate the train where there's deal between the broker, who is Vanessa Kirby's character, and some secret agent guy we don't know yet, happened to be. So they're on the train. They need to get onto the train. Tom Cruise can't go with her because conveniently their mask making machine just explodes when it's only made one mask. So he can't go without doing his stupid cliff jump thing. Anyway, the problem is that the mask they put on Grace that makes her look like the broker, Vanessa Kirby's character, they don't change her eye color.
I noticed that too.
Nor do they change her. So she goes
really
in.
Clever. Yeah,
How
I
is
thought
that clever?
was-
She's. Are you saying that? Her brother is her personal guard. He's with her all the time. He's intensely protective.
I forgot.
She
that.
goes in. She goes
didn't pick that
into her private cabin. She shuts the door. 2 seconds later, in completely different clothes, and after a weird, suspicious flump sound, she comes out wearing completely different clothes with different eyes and acting differently and speaking differently. And her brother doesn't notice the difference.
Yeah, but I thought that was clever because obviously they made a point of not changing her eye color. And I noticed that too during the one viewing I was watching. I was like, oh shit. So I thought it built up tension of like, oh, they could notice at any moment that, like, wait a minute, there's something different about you. Your eyes are brown, not blue. I don't know. That's where I was with it. I thought
if
it was
brought up
clearly
later, it would've been
intentional.
better.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. It should have been a plot point that they brought up at some point.
Yeah, they could have said something about it. But I mean, the filmmakers obviously left that in on purpose. So that was the intent I walked away with was, it was something that you as the viewer, you're going to notice it and kind of build up tension for yourself about
It's one
someone
more
at some
than
point's
that.
gonna
So
notice.
they didn't leave it in by choice. They inserted it by choice because obviously it's the same actress playing the character in the mask and out of the mask, and her eyes are naturally blue. So they actually had to put contact lenses in to change her eye color. So that was a deliberate choice. They made a positive decision to make the fake version of the broker's eyes different from the real version of the broker. I wonder if they just did that so we could tell the difference because the film isn't really confident that we can. My problem is, though, that everyone there, most notably her brother, should have immediately spotted the difference. Like, it's a huge risk doing that.
Yeah, that was one thing that I noticed immediately and I thought was a little weird they never brought up.
They even could have like made a throwaway joke like, your eyes are different. Contacts. And then just move on.
I agree with you on that one.
That feels like a very Mission Impossible.
He could have said, I mean, now this would have still been kind of stupid because the brother, like if the brother, they kind of play off that the brother's not that smart to begin with. So like if he would have said something like, why are your eyes a different color? Been like, don't you know I wear contacts or something like that? Like they could have said, and he could have been like, sure. Like they could have played off of it a little bit, but
maybe it was a comment on the modern man not noticing anything about women. And
True.
we
have 5, well, 4 because one of them didn't watch. We have 4 guys in this chat alone who noticed it immediately.
Also, I have to say,
I
if
didn't
the
notice
whole
it because
thing
I don't
is,
get eye color.
if a sister is having to say to her brother, "My eyes are up here," that's a bit dodgy. So I'm hoping that's not what they
you
were
could
going
put
for
it
there.
in. Game of Thrones did it.
They
all
should.
the time.
I mean, they should have went the extra mile and just gave her like a super padded bra too, and like they should just went the whole extra. And then like she's clearly a different person, but no one notices.
Dye her hair green. Do whatever.
Well, it's also very coincidental that they're the exact same height, everything like that too.
Yes.
So those are things we
I
live
thought
and die with when we're talking about
Well,
Mission
that's
Impossible
actually
movies.
something you can account for. Like if they were like, and that
Oh,
would've been-
really? You can account for height more than?
Well, yeah, if it's like an inch, you could wear lifts in your shoes. If it's like 6-inch difference, yes, it's going to be difficult. But if it's like an inch and they like knew that ahead of time, oh, she's 5'4", you're 5'3", we're gonna have to put 1-inch lifts in your shoes. Like that's a thing you can account for in dialogue. You know.
Well, you could account. They could have accounted for the eyes too, just like Andrew was saying. Yeah.
Let's see.
But yeah, I guess it's up in the air of what the reasoning why they did that. Was it for us because they didn't trust us, or was it to build tension and it fell flat for some people? I don't care where your eyes are. I'm looking at your tits.
Quote from her brother.
Well, they actually are exactly the same height in real life.
It says, Mark 2000 says Haley Atwell's 5'6", Vanessa Kirby's 5'8".
I just looked it up. It says they're both 5'7".
Lies.
Yeah.
No, they're just rounding up and down. It's the average. That is the mean height between them is 5'7".
I mean, I just that was just Google, and Google never lies. Everybody knows that the internet is correct.
Nerdy film girls got it here. Yeah, Tom Cruise is like 5 feet tall, so suspension of disbelief anytime he wears a mask. Yeah.
Look, if women wouldn't notice a couple of inches, I don't think we need to be complaining about it either. So, what's 2 inches between friends? So yeah, that was slightly irritating, the eye color thing, and then the fact that the whole plan is that they're going to knock her out in order that Grace can masquerade as her to go and do the deal, but then that all relies on her staying knocked out for exactly the right amount of time with no real control over that. If she'd woken up 5 minutes earlier, they were fucked. If she'd woken up 5 minutes later, they were also probably fucked. So it's a bit of a precarious plan. And again, like I get the argument that there are certain forgivenesses you have to make for Mission Impossible films, but again, go back to Fallout or Rogue Nation and just compare how much intensive planning they put in to their various break-ins and their missions and all the rest of it, and compare it to the complete lack of the same in this film. And I don't think that's a Mission Impossible thing at that point. I think it's just a laziness thing for this film.
Yeah, and that could I agree with that, and I also definitely don't think this is the best in the series. I just had a really goddamn good time at the movie theater. Like, it genuinely left the theater happy and pleased, and just felt like I watched something that was plot contrivance filled and super entertaining all the same. But it's not even close to the best in the same series. We haven't even given credit to the first movie yet. I actually genuinely really enjoy the first movie too. I'm a huge Brian De Palma fan, and I think last week someone mentioned that it might have been Uninspired Reviewer, that the climax doesn't hold up because the CGI. And I watched it the other day, and it is riveting. It's still fantastic. It was really well done for 1996. The conclusion of that movie. Like the helicopter going into the train tunnel and everything. That one was a fucking banger. Everything about that, like from the moment he jumps off the train onto the helicopter, and when the music cue hits and the theme song starts, and the throwback to the Mission Impossible TV series with the dialogue, everything about that movie is great. So
that's what I was laughing. That exactly. What
I
was
blowjobs in the theater and associating that with the films he watches. How many movies do I actually recommend? Come on,
I can just
how many
like,
blowjobs do you actually get? Is the question you're asking there?
This was a very good movie. It was the best
movie
movie.
theaters genuinely, relatively
a really good climax
empty
in this
usually.
particular
film.
One thing,
yes, red light, green light.
One thing I will say, since you mentioned the train, it's kind of a weird reason to justify it, but at least they justified why he was up on top of the train fighting. That his plan to escape required that he was up there and falling out of falling into that like truck full of whatever the fuck it was that prevented him from dying. But like I actually appreciated that they actually thought of that part. Like, oh, he shouldn't just be on top of the train for zero reason. At least give it some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, although the AI, so he has a watch on his wrist which is doing the countdown to the precise moment he needs to jump, which means the AI needs to know where his starting position is and how fast the train is going, and at what point he's jumping, and exactly where the truck he's jumping into is. That unfortunately means it also has to know, because he jumps immediately after a fight scene, exactly where he ends up after he's been fighting with Tom Cruise and Tom Cruise is thrown into the floor. Because if he's been thrown off by a couple of feet, then the calculation's off, so he's dead. But I appreciated they gave them a reason to be up on top of the train. You can compare it to Indiana Jones 5, for example, where there's another train fight, even shot for shot, disarmingly the same, it has to be said, when they're going through the tunnel and crawling toward each other with a knife. It's basically the same film at that precise moment. It's better than that, but saying something is better than Indy 5 is probably the faintest of faint praise.
That is
Actually,
for sure.
part of the train sequence was delayed because of filming for that scene in Indy 5. So there was actually a delay in their production cycle.
They're using the same train.
They were, apparently they were using like the same train or something. I only found that in my research about the production cycle. I didn't 100% dive deep on that because I had already done a video on, Indy, and I didn't want to really go too far back down that road. But apparently it might not have been the exact train, but apparently it was like the specific that's like where they both were recorded on like the same route or something.
Yeah.
And it they're actually, those two scenes are more connected than you realize, even on the surface level.
They both got bridges. They got hills and forests. Easy.
Yeah, like from a visual standpoint, the fact
it does look
within 2
similar.
weeks. But the fact that they were even within the same production cycles and one got delayed for the other is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I thought the production for this movie was really good considering COVID.
Yeah.
You could tell me COVID didn't even interfere.
Effects for the most part. I mean, they have to smooth some things out with CGI to make it work.
Yeah,
but for the most part, everything's practical.
Yeah, and when they're like going through the streets and there's other moving cars, those other moving cars are CGI just because safety, and you don't want to get those
safety
things.
And convenience for that, because it's hard to get a bunch of people driving together at the same time.
Did anyone see the shorts behind the scenes that Paramount released of the bike jump off the cliff?
No, I did not.
Oh, it's fucking
I saw a
crazy.
Clip that like Mantis.
I'll have to go check that out after we're done.
Yeah, the amount of work. Excuse me, the amount of work that went into that bike jump off that cliff alone was absolutely nuts. The camera that they used didn't exist a couple of years prior to be able to capture it the way they wanted to. And he did something like 500 skydives and like 5,000 like actual jumps off of a bike in order to prep for it. And then they shot it 6 times. And like everything that he actually jumped off the cliff. The rock formation wasn't there. That's CGI'd around the ramp that they built, but they had to build it and have it every single piece airlifted in. So the amount of attention and care that was given to the action sequences, which is a major reason why people enjoy these movies, all of that is there. So even like, plot wise, I think the entire series, it has its ups and downs when it comes to plot and story, but if you're going for the excitement of legitimate action sequences, this one will deliver for you.
Although I was kind of like, they used the jump scene, voice crack, like way too much in the promotional material, I think, because when I saw it on the theater, I'm like, I saw that in the trailer. It's kind of like when comedy movies use their best jokes in the trailers. It's like, I already saw this. But it was still incredible. It was still incredible. So
the only problem I had was how they ended. So like that entire sequence is incredible. But then they ended it with the hyper lucky plot point when he like comes careening through the fucking window.
I did. It was really funny that like he bursts through and he's just like stunned. He's just like, what just happened?
Oh yeah, his body would have been destroyed.
Yeah,
like every bone in his body would have been broken.
Yeah, the level of luck that needed to be involved in that.
That was actually, so my theater, which was mostly I would say about 80%, maybe 70% full, laughed at that part. I was one of the few people who didn't laugh because I was just kind of
I mean, I did laugh
confused.
because it's fucking ridiculous.
I didn't laugh,
so
but because I
funny.
was more, I kind of put on like I didn't understand that. The one that I laughed at in like right before that was the Simon Pegg actually like being like, I'm under a lot of pressure, and then like him being like, I'm the one on the clip. I thought
Yeah.
that was funnier. That's
He's
that
just in the
was-
self-driving car. He's like, guys, let's
Yeah.
calm down.
The lock aspect, by the way, of him going through the train on the parachute does extend backwards, because in the bar scene earlier, which is when Gabriel, Tom Cruise, Ilsa Faust, Grace, the broker, all of them meet together in this club, and Gabriel exposits that he doesn't need to do anything because he has been told by his AI overlord that the next day on the Orient Express in this carriage, the key will end up at his feet, so he doesn't need to do anything. Lo and behold, what happens when Tom Cruise crashes through the window of the train, even though we just heard him say on his way down that he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it? He crashes into someone, the key is dropped, and lo and behold, it ends up in front of Gabriel's feet. So you see, it was written and it happened. But if you're telling me that the AI could calculate that, then I'm telling you that is absolute bullshit. It makes no goddamn sense, but it is quite funny.
Platoon, it is written. Amen.
And so it shall
Did
be.
anybody else besides me have an issue with the fact that they overused the shit out of the like sleight of hand gimmick? Like,
Yeah,
Oh, I
a little
saw
bit.
that in your review. Yeah, they did.
I thought it
use
was a
that.
bit like
It was-
that goes all the way back to MI1 because
yeah,
what
I
he
just felt
does.
like it was really pervasive in this one. Like it was like they did it except like a way more in this one than most of them. It seemed like almost every other scene had it in it.
Mm.
That was just, I mean, maybe I might have been a little like hard on that particular aspect of it. But it was something that I noticed a lot of
it was a
as I
lot.
catch a fly out of midair, might I add.
It was definitely a big like plot. It felt kind of like a not plot convenience, just like it happened all the time. The plot was like,
It was plot
I
device
have
that
the
kept
thing
happening.
now. Yeah, it was a big plot device. Where it's like, I have the key now. No, I have the key now, and I'm going to Venice.
I thought it was
No,
interesting
now I have the key.
first time they did it in the airport. Like I thought it was fine then, and then it
It
just
was a
kept
good
happening.
introduction to a
It was like
character.
it was almost like
Yeah.
it killed the uniqueness of them doing it back and forth multiple times in the airport, and now it's like, okay, now they're just gonna do it like even extending to like her undoing the handcuff,
With the Fiat.
like okay, now and then they did it again and again and again. She kept doing it to other people. It was just constant, and like that. As it went along, it became there. It went from it being kind of interesting to there was two different versions: the hyper obvious or the how the hell that doesn't even make sense version of it. Like how when did you get a chance to even do that? Like
And with the Fiat change with the car, I didn't like that joke. I was just not a fan of that.
Do you just not like Fiats, or is it like?
Yes. No, it just like felt like it was big car chase, big adrenaline, and then it just kind of stopped for a joke. And then really didn't feel like it built up the momentum again. Or it at least took a while for the momentum to build up again for that chase.
As a person who drives as a person who drives a tiny car, can we stop like insulting people who drive tiny cars? Like tiny cars
We
are very
hate you.
fun.
I don't know. It was like Tom Cruise, you've been doing this for 7 movies. How do you not know how to drive a Fiat? It kind of
Well, it wasn't that he didn't know how to drive it. It's just that they were in weird. The way that they were handcuffed
He was
together was
handcuffed.
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
he's
like-
pushing the buttons. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't know how this works. I'm hitting the windshield wipers. Why would there be a hotkey for windshield wipers in a spy car? I don't know.
I
It was just
mean,
annoying to me.
I'm sorry. I'm super distracted. I want to kill my neighbors downstairs. They're fucking banging on the
don't
walls.
do it.
And
Don't do
I
it. Don't do it.
might go kill somebody.
Don't do it.
Yes,
uh,
do it.
Who has any last words on Mission Impossible before we move on to the next topic? We've given a good hour to this. I didn't think we'd talk for an hour about
Poor
it.
Backface is sitting there and he's thinking, you know what?
I know. Like,
If I hadn't
talk about
been, if I
something
hadn't
else.
been slave to my desk by the movie cynic, I could have had something to say, but he fucking kept me there.
I'm secretly hoping you hated this enough to do a video on it so I can do that for you.
I may or may not be maybe doing that, so I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, you might have to suffer through it some more.
Bagface, don't worry. We'll unionize and you can go watch movies. I don't even know why I'm unionizing. I'm not even an editor. I don't even edit these people's videos.
I was saying, I'll just go
are
back to
automatic
fucking working
union.
on my own videos.
How
that's
do
fine.
I wait? Can I join the,
Oh, God,
the
no.
union if I edit my own videos and like be angry
Yes.
at myself? Okay, then
Yes.
that's fine.
I
'Cause
told
I'm very angry at myself.
I told Vex I'm like a whore for this shit. I love sitting in my basement alone and not talking to anyone, not seeing the outside world. People are like, "Oh, that must get so." I'm like, "No, that's it. That's good. That's the good stuff."
Yeah, well, I told Platoon if he's doing an MI video, then he needs to hurry the fuck up because I need you for Barbie Oppenheimer. So,
Like I can't do
Yeah.
both.
if you, hey, as long as you get it to me when I need it, that's cool with me.
Hey, I need him for Barbenheimer too on Sunday.
Barbenheimer. I might do one video on it. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. I'm gonna do
I'm
my
going to because I don't have the time to do 2 videos. So that's really it's kind of just convenient they come out at the same time.
It's legitimately if I want to video edit or not. I hated making my Mission Impossible video so much. I've already decided I hate making like doing video edits like
You've
in the
been
past 2
spoiled.
weeks.
he's done with YouTube.
No, I love writing it and I love recording it and everything, but the video editing, why would I do it when I can have Bagface do it and it's better?
Am I technically supposed to be on strike right now? Am I included in that?
Nope.
You're not
Nope.
writing or
Okay.
acting.
Beautiful.
Get back in the basement.
You're also in
We
Canada.
could. That's true.
So it's like-
Yeah, we don't count. Us Canadians.
Yeah.
So
We
I'm
already got
probably only
health
going to have the
insurance.
time to do one video on either Barbie or Oppenheimer. And judging by the things that are coming out regarding Barbie today, I have a feeling it's
Yeah,
going to prove
I have a
that
feeling it's gonna be the
Barbie that
one.
gets the video.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you
Barbie.
that Barbie is definitely doing way better in terms of ticket sales right now, at least in my area.
I saw the predictions. Absolutely crazy that it's predicted to open to over 100 million. That is way off from what I was thinking. So
Really? Oh,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
might make its initial budget back on like opening weekend, basically.
all right, well,
It's hitting $1 billion.
I'm gonna share my screen here.
Ooh,
This
yay.
is so. Some of you people might be familiar with Film Speak. He's another big film critic here on YouTube. He saw it, and we generally have different opinions. But this is what he had to say. Hang
Oh, boy.
on. Oh, you pulled it up. Barbie is a weird little existential romp that makes for one of the most unabashed, hilarious, and heartfelt films I've seen all year. A satirical look at gender roles, identity, confidence, self-love, and discovery as we hurl towards the inevitable. I think that what that means is everyone's going to be they, them in the future. Gerwig hijacks on Gerwig hijacks an otherwise cynical IP grab and flips it on its head, interrogating the very nature of its existence and the toxic standards media, society in general uphold, while simultaneously expressing how Barbie is a tool for something greater. Oh,
Now, can you please, just in case anyone was maybe thinking that could be kind of intelligent and interesting, can you please pull up Grace Randolph's tweet?
oh yes.
Oh,
Hang
no.
on. I'll be right.
Fuck.
Where's Grace Randolph? Here you are.
Are we gonna see if you follow Grace Randolph? Oh, you
I don't.
Follow her, do it.
I
Yeah.
don't.
We gotta
is this
keep
what
up to
she's?
date.
Where is she? Where
No,
is
no,
her? Here
There
it
it
is.
is.
Oh, man.
Barbie
Super
was one of the
feminist.
greatest films I've ever seen. It is super fun, super feminist, and I could watch it on a loop. To see so much of what I think and feel captured in a movie was incredible. Review tomorrow when embargo lifts at 7.
See, it's the third line that kind of does it for me and makes me think I could have some fun with this, because like, if this film surmises the entire contents of Grace Randolph's head, it's going to be quite something. It's going to be pretty special.
Now, here's the thing. Film Speak, I'm friends with him. He's really good. Him and I disagree a lot, but he actually covers a lot of his bases and does really intelligent breakdowns and at least articulates his points. Grace Randolph's a fucking idiot.
True.
No offense, Grace, but I just don't like your takes a lot. I think
I
that
also
they're
hate her
shallow
intro.
and not great. So
She starts
Um,
off the
That's
video.
talk.
with saying,
No
well,
intro
fucking
is best
NPC.
True.
You could
Who did
tell me
someone
that
say?
she's literal AI, and I would believe it. Like
AI would
Yeah,
have
no.
better takes than Grace Randolph. What are you talking about? Like,
that is
AI
there'd
would
be
pay
more
attention to the
nuance.
films that it's watching.
I'll just never forget her Super Mario review, and everybody in her comments is like, "You're a fucking moron." She's like, "I hated this movie. I don't get it." Like,
I actually did forget that because like it was just so she basically said nothing. It was just like, this is stupid. I was like,
It's a stupid movie. Are we talking about Barbie now?
Sure, let's get into it. Yeah. Thoughts,
It's
predictions,
cinema.
I guess.
A few months ago, I sat down and watched Legally Blonde because it had been a while since I'd watched that movie. And I remember thinking like, wow, I really hope Barbie is this, because it's just such a beautiful look at what actual femininity is and like how it contrasts to like toxic male traits, and not in like an overly aggressive way. Yeah, printing money. Who's printing money?
Shitty movies like Barbie
Us when we
or
make
whatever it's
reviews.
gonna be.
So like,
who knows what it's going to be at this
I
point?
don't think it's inherently gonna suck because it's feminist and it's pushing all these things, but I think it's just ill-timed. Like, I feel like if this movie came out in a state where people aren't so polarized on this exact subject, maybe I'd be able to take it like a little more, I don't know, like less emotionally, I guess, than I probably will take it. But I feel like just doing this movie at this time with that kind of let's break all gender norms kind of script is not going to go over so hot.
But it's
Well,
also
it's
because
also-
it's lost its entire reason for being. So obviously it could end up being a really clever subversion. It could be a completely new take on the argument. It could do all of these things. I doubt that it will. If it does turn out though, just to be, hey, look, we've inverted the gender norms. So Ken is now the woman and Barbie's now like the hero. My response to that is, so what? You've made it like every other film.
Yes, thank
Well
you.
done.
That's what I was thinking too. I'm just like, that would be cool if it wasn't the 5,000th movie to do it in the past like 2 years. There's so many movies that think they're the first ones doing something when it's been done over and over and over. It's all it is a trend. You're not breaking any new ground. And so it gets really sickening because you're watching the same thing repeatedly and just being told about, by the filmmakers how clever they are and that you need to appreciate that. It gets old. It gets sickening.
I think
go ahead.
that's why I was stoked. That's why I was hoping at least that it would be like Legally Blonde, is because it would have been kind of refreshing to see this type of movie lean into the real aspect of like feminine like existence and like have it kind of play with that idea instead of trying to break the norms of femininity, kind of like lean into it and show the strengths of it. And it feels like the perfect opportunity to do that, which is so antithetical to what has been put out for like the last half decade.
I have
Mic
trouble
drop.
saying
All right,
things about
moving
movies. I have trouble saying things about movies that I haven't seen. So it's like, I mean,
what are your any thoughts surrounding it? Are you anticipating it?
So I definitely, just like I said, just based on like, looking at my local theaters and looking for tickets and stuff, almost all of the Thursday, Friday showings are like 90% sold for these.
Mhm. Yeah, my showing on Wednesday, I bought like 2 weeks ago, and I grabbed like the last seat, and I'm like right up front. That was
the Oppenheimer experience.
just it
so yeah,
sucked.
I would say that this is probably going to smash whatever its predictions are, and probably is going to make. I mean, I'm not sure how much staying power we'll have, but at least up front, it's going to make a shit ton of money, and it'll probably in the first 2 weeks go significantly. Oh, we've lost Platoon.
Goodbye.
His internet
God, I
shit
hated
itself.
that British
I'm
guy.
sure. British people.
What was I saying? Oh yeah,
LOL.
sorry. I think in the first 2 weeks it's going to overshoot its like threshold to start making money, so it'll just be whatever after that. Other than that, though, I mean, I have no idea what to say because it's like I can only go based on like the tweets you just put up, and I agree with Bagface. It's gotten to the point now where it's like, first it was an attack on, masculine tropes and toxic masculinity. Now it seems like it's being like, oh, well, now we need to get rid of traditional femininity, and we have to
Just have everyone be sexless aliens.
Yeah, and it seems like it's now gotten to that side of the gender binary or whatever term you want to use, of a now we have to now tear down this side as well, and it's just getting tiresome. It's just getting to the
What's
point where
interesting is they've made a movie like this, apparently, based
Mm-hmm.
on just what we've read here. We'll see. I'll see Wednesday when it comes out. But they've tried really hard to steer away from that with the marketing.
yes,
They haven't leaned into this shit, which is why I think that it's projected to open so huge, which is why I think Andrew wants to see it so bad.
No, I just
Other-
want to see Ryan.
I have other
Gosling.
theories on that. I think if he panned his camera a little bit, there's lots of Barbies right next to those.
Right next to the Spider-Man.
Right next to
Here?
this, yeah,
Or
right
right
over there. I
here?
think either way, I think it's a whole shelf of Barbies over there.
No. Over here, I got a bunch
mean-
of BB-8s. I don't know why.
I remember the BB-8s. I remember
Yeah.
exactly.
A couple people in the production as they've said something about how about gender roles or whatever, about what it said, and then a couple other people have shut it down to almost like put out the fire that would have caused.
Mhm.
And then a couple of these reviews come out from Grace and FilmSpeak and say otherwise, like, no, actually, like, it's really great because it does all this shit.
I mean, now
Oh,
here's the
no.
thing: is Grace could have just not. So Grace Randolph is a person who tends to take
She is a
things at
person.
extremely. Yeah, I mean that's questionable. But she's an entity, a something or other that happens to take things at a extremely face value. And probably if there was any satirical aspect to it that was making fun of that like over the top feminist concept, it would go right over her head and be like, no, she'd be like, yeah, that is exactly what they were trying to say. There's absolutely
This is a smart movie.
there's absolutely no subtext or like anything to it. Like, so there is a possibility that she's just missing the joke. I don't think so at this venture, but who knows? She's done it before.
So
She certainly has.
comparing the two, like I know Barbie's probably going to have a better opening weekend, but who do you
100%
guys
it's going to.
think? Yeah, it's sort of almost double predictions for Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
But who do you think will end up on top?
Oh,
In
I
the
think
end?
Barbie just by sheer
think
numbers of its
Barbie-
opening.
Are we
weekend.
actually
Yeah.
asking if Barbie will end up on top of Oppenheimer? Is that because I've heard there's a scene in Oppenheimer that may bring that into question. So.
Barbie topping Oppenheimer would subvert the gender norm, so it's completely believable.
Yeah.
I think that Oppenheimer may actually struggle to make money. Actually, it's got a couple
It
things
could.
working against it. It's got the fact that it's a historical biopic about somebody that, you know, obviously is very important, but there's not a huge amount of clamoring to hear his story. And if I don't know if anybody recalls, but we had somebody on in one episode where they didn't even know who Robert Oppenheimer was. So
What, are you talking
alienated-
about?
I don't.
Altiari?
I wasn't gonna say her
I
name.
know
'cause
Altiari. Look, she's a sweetheart, and she's not from here. Okay, leave her.
But
alone.
I'm saying that there is
Or
there. What I'm
Is she
saying.
a fox? I don't know.
If you come from a world in which you don't know about nuclear weapons or Jeffrey Epstein, can we really say that that's a bad thing?
Right.
Like,
Well, that's such a bad
What I'm
she
thing.
saying
lives
is
in a
that
lovely world.
there is like, you know, in terms of, it's so weird that I have to compare these two things in terms of immediate, like recognizable recognition. It's everyone knows what Barbie is.
Mhm.
Not everybody knows who Robert Oppenheimer is. There's a lot of younger people who might not even gotten to that point in their history lessons yet. So that eliminates some of that. Then you have the fact that it is over 3 hours long. It hurts. People don't want to necessarily always like people already say that 2.5 hours is too much for a movie. They see 3 hours. They're going to be like, I'm not interested. And then it also hurts the ability for the theaters to show more of them. So that
I am tired of that excuse. Avengers Endgame was 3 hours long and opened to $357 million.
But everybody
Can
and
we
their
move
mother
on from
wanted to
that?
see that. Literally,
Well,
my
that was
mother
a-
wanted to
Yes,
see it.
Yeah,
but
it
that
was a
didn't
conclusion
stop
to a
it
thing.
from being shown to
Yeah.
people.
No, but you've got a decade's worth of build up for that.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that it is so long and also so unasked for, I guess, and it's not part of a big franchise, and it's not innately appealing to a mass audience, would probably, well, I mean, it's all designed, I think, to be a niche film. You know, this is the
It
kind of
is.
thing that
It
a
was
small
budgeted that
audience,
way, too.
and I'll be part of that small audience because I find the subject fascinating, but it's designed for a small audience who is fascinated by the subject to go and watch an incredibly highly produced version of the story that they are very interested in. And the niche audience won't have a problem with it being 3 hours, but the general audience who already are wondering exactly what the hell is the point and who this Oppenheimer chap is and I thought we all agreed that nuclear weapons are bad anyway, so why do I need to be told? And where's the fighting? I know there's shagging, but like there's no war, so why am I interested? Those people are probably not going to be sitting down for 3 hours to watch a story about a man they didn't already have some kind of interest in.
Has there been a lot of reviews yet?
Not
No,
really.
the embargo hasn't been lifted on either of these yet.
I have a feeling the embargo lifts on Wednesday, I think, but I could be wrong.
Back to what you said, Cynic. How many? So yes, there was a lot more showings of it was almost as long with Endgame, and it still made a shit ton of money. How many midnight showings were there?
There were none because they stopped midnight showings after.
Or how many?
Night
No, they
shooting.
didn't.
After the Dark Knight shooting, bro,
What?
they open movies on Thursday now. They don't do midnights.
Okay, well, how many late night showings? When I look at
they don't even do that anymore because they literally movies open on Fridays, but they really open on Thursday at like 10 a.m.
Well, the point I'm trying to get to is when I looked at the amount of showings for Barbie versus the amount of showings for Oppenheimer, less showings at my theater. So,
to that point, then, Endgame wasn't going head to head with another major release.
Yeah.
Because no one was going to try and go head to head with that. I think Christopher Nolan is the kind of person that would have a final say in when his film comes out, and he's just stubborn and he's like, "No, I'm not moving it." When he easily could have, and it could make more money this way. But I think there's also, like Platoon pointed out, there are contrasting audiences. I don't think there's a lot of us that are both going to see Barbie and Oppenheimer in the same weekend. Or
seeing
even
them back-to-back days.
Interested in both movies.
I feel like it's almost like this might be my brain just going like way too hard, but I feel like Oppenheimer is going to have better legs. I feel like Barbie will have that big opening weekend and we'll have like not too bad of a fall off, but I feel like it'll fall off pretty quickly just based on the fact that the majority of people that are going to want to see Barbie right away to like get on their social media and like say how life-changing it was, will go see it opening weekend to make sure that they can do that. And then most people like my mom and shit are going to wait for it to hit streaming because it's not really a movie that you're going to have to see in theaters, where like Oppenheimer is aimed at that audience that like actually has fucking money and might go see a movie. Like if you're waiting to go see a movie, if you're like an adult who's sick of superhero movies, like there probably isn't another movie, like maybe Mission Impossible, but there probably isn't a lot of movies this summer that an adult audience that wants to go see a good movie in theaters is going to want to see other than Oppenheimer, I would say.
Well, don't forget that adults will likely bring kids to see Barbie, whereas they probably are not going to bring them to see Oppenheimer. So you have that going for it as well. I did like the fact you chose better legs as a term there, by the way, considering the fact that
Cillian Murphy's got some good legs. I don't know.
Cillian Murphy. However, we never determined how his name was pronounced.
We did. It's Killian, and Americans are wrong.
Yeah, I thought. Oh no, okay. I always thought it was Killian, and then I heard a bunch of people saying
Murphy.
You could just be like my friend who calls him Sicilian Murphy.
Sicilian Murphy. It's weird because whenever he's silly like a protagonist in a movie, I have trouble taking it seriously. He just has such a like psycho villain look that it's just like
I just see Scarecrow.
I see. Well, I mean, or I don't remember the character's name, but in Red Eye,
I see.
Oh yeah, Red Eye was great, dude.
Yeah, like he just like has a look that I have trouble looking at and being like, yes, I'm rooting for that guy.
I feel like that's why he works so well as Oppenheimer, though, is because he's kind of like historically he's on that line of villain slash, you know, like protagonist, or I don't know if you want to call it a real life.
This is the guy that made the thing, so
yeah, and knowingly made the thing.
He made the thing and did the stuff, you guys.
Oh, can we start calling him Cillian Murphy? Can we go with that?
Cillian.
Apparently he signed on for 28 years later, which I'm now excited for. If he actually signed on to that,
they're doing it 28 years later.
Yeah, apparently.
They're gonna have to like digitally age him up for that because he hasn't really aged that much.
The dude still looks almost the exact same as he did in 2005 in Batman Begins.
Yeah, because he kind of that's the thing. He already kind of looked older than he was, so he just caught up to his age. That's all it is. So yeah, they're gonna have to make him like significantly older looking for 28 years later.
The amount of people I saw on Twitter complaining that like they actually thought Christopher Nolan set off an atomic bomb in this movie. They're like, oh, I don't want to see it now because he didn't set off a fucking nuke. Like,
yeah, it was honestly kind of disappointing. Common
No,
I don't
Crisell.
remember who sent it to me. I think it might have been Z3PO or was it Uninspired? I don't know. Someone
Love that
tagged
guy.
me in something and they were like, it was a review of Oppenheimer on Twitter, and it said like people are finding the third act very divisive, and I was like, I wonder what happened in the third act.
Is that
What-
when the sex
what a
scene is?
curious thing. I wonder why.
Let's think.
Wonder what
Any
happens
guesses in
here.
chat?
Anybody
do they?
actually?
Bucks.
I turn it to the chat. How well do you think this is going to do in Japan?
It's already banned.
Oh, it was
No, it's
Uninspired.
not banned.
Yeah, thanks,
It's not
bro.
banned. That was
It's
a
not
rumor.
banned?
No, it's
No,
not.
No,
I'm
it's not
curious.
banned.
I mean, and
Oh, was
if
it?
it does do badly in Japan, are we legally allowed to say that it bombed in Japan?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we've
a
had
bit
that
of
joke
a
anytime it's
meme.
brought up. So
We have
yeah.
literally all the time. But it's a bit of a meme. Like the Japanese are not like they will happily address nukes in art. Like the whole origin story of Godzilla is
Yeah, I was gonna say
radiation
Godzilla,
and nuclear
anybody?
weapons.
Look, I wasn't on for a couple weeks. Okay, I didn't get the chance to say that.
They love nukes. They'd do it again.
I feel like Nolan's smart enough of a person to also like properly pay homage to that situation. Like I'm sure it's divisive in the US because he's probably like, hey, we're the bad guys in this situation. And people
I
are
don't
like,
care that I'm
oh, but the flag is so
How dare they.
strong. But bald eagles.
But the flag.
The flag.
But
I like if
flag.
the film just ends with like the slow-mo panning out shot of the statues of the Americans raising the flag at Iwo Jima. And then it's just like the tagline is just, fuck you, Japan. We win. Like, it's not even the same bomb, though. I'm sure they'll be fine with it. The
GG.
Japanese won't mind.
Dude, if we got Godzilla out of this whole situation, okay, so it's totally worth it, in my opinion.
Listen, Japan, you got a W here. All right, let's take it. Let's.
Yeah, you guys
I-
got a W.
I'm
The
sure.
new
I'm sure
Godzilla
that's what
movie
they
was
thought. They
announced.
think about constantly with that. Is they
It's
go,
probably-
"Hey, look, we got the real win because we got to make Godzilla."
Exactly, the concept of Godzilla, and Godzilla -1 comes out in Japan in December. So I mean, like, this is fucking awesome.
This
So
is a
thank
prequel,
you.
guys.
Thank you, Oppenheimer. I
Maybe
appreciate it.
Nolan's actually a huge Cynic fan, and the nuke just goes off in Japan, and then it's just GG's. That's it. That's the end.
Nah, Godzilla shows up and then it says GG immediately.
Good game.
And Robert Pattinson's going to play Oppenheimer in the sequel.
No, Chris Pratt. I want to see Chris Pratt's Oppenheimer.
Oh my! Oh,
Yo, real though, for real, I'm actually surprised Chris Pratt's not in Barbie. Feels like they got everyone and their cousin in that movie, and somehow he did not end up in that shit.
does feel like a very Chris Pratt movie.
Right?
But
No, he's trying.
even as like a
clearly trying to
background.
get- he's clearly trying to get away from that like silliness that he's been known for.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's that would have just brought him right back to there.
I don't know if it's gonna work though, because they're doing a second season of Terminalist, right?
Well, I think there's like 5 or 6 books. So
Yo, I loved that show. I don't know why everybody thinks that shit sucked.
I
I
did
loved
like
it.
the show, but I have no idea where they take it after that.
I mean, if you're really curious, go read the next book.
Is it
I don't
good?
know, books.
I've never.
Um,
I'm just saying, like, if you really are curious as to where it goes, that's what
The
I would
ending
do.
of that is very final. It's like the first Extraction. It's like, yeah, this could end here and that'd be good. But they have to be very careful with.
Yeah, there's
doing
like
season 2.
I'm pretty certain there's 6 books, or the guy's working
Yeah.
on the 6th book or something like that. So clearly the story doesn't end anytime soon for season 2.
What is his next role? Is he doing anything else? I don't like.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Let's see what Chris Pratt's IMDb says for coming soon.
He's coming.
He's coming.
He is coming.
I have
Oh, wait.
came.
I came. Wiped out Japan.
Garfield.
What?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Chris
no.
Pratt
Throw
is trying
that
to get
whole-
away. He's trying to get back to the more serious roles, you
Throw
guys. He
that
doesn't
away.
want
Garfield.
leading stuff.
We're done here.
Oh.
Who's he playing?
Garfield.
But then apparently Electric State, which is I don't know what that
Is
is.
he playing Garfield?
He's
Or
not
is he
playing
playing-
Garfield in Electric State,
Okay.
but this one looks like it could be a little bit more serious. I'm not really sure. It's something to deal with like AI and robots. So
I mean, I think he's a good voice actor, and I assume
I mean,
not
when
Barbie,
your
but
when you
Garfield.
can just basically do your voice and no one cares that if you do your voice, then you're fine. You're a great voice actor then.
I mean, he has range. At least, like, he was good in the Lego Movie. I haven't seen I
Wasn't he
haven't
just
seen,
basically his voice though? Like that's what I'm saying is like if he's not required to like change his voice very much. So
Super
Um,
Mario, he did some change.
He did well a little bit of change. I
Yeah.
think Mario is going to be the interesting one to compare Barbie to in terms of performance because I think Mario takes a well-established,
They did make
much beloved IP. It makes a huge amount of money without really bothering to do anything with story or characters, but it was incredibly successful. And it was successful because it was so bland and inoffensive and just generally kind of vaguely fun. If Barbie comes out, Barbie has a long and storied history. It is not in the same league as a beloved franchise, but it is a long-established IP. And if they come out with Barbie and they try to make it very clever and do all the gender norm stuff, whether or not it drops off in the way that Mario just simply didn't, and whether that accounts for the difference. If you just done a generic, funny kind of Barbie comedy, I think it would have probably pulled in quite a bit of money. But if they are going to try and be clever with it, they might lose more.
I mean, the humor from the trailers looks really good. I like the humor in the movie. It's like this oblivious nature to both Ken and Barbie. Although Ken is probably just going to be a Ryan Gosling just running around like an idiot, which could be funny, but probably won't. I assume that they used the best jokes for the trailers.
Yeah,
those are
He
the best.
also-
They're in trouble.
he's looking juiced as fuck for this movie. Like,
I don't think that's real. I think that definitely doesn't feel like
What,
like
the abs?
Yeah, the abs. I feel like they've
Yo,
definitely.
like
I
his
think it'd be
arms are
funny.
fucking veiny as shit.
Everyone's skin does look plastic in the movie.
Yeah.
Like
It
fake
kind of
think
reminds
they-
me of like
Which is
300
good.
abs, like where
They all
were,
had like
Ah.
spray tans for the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was probably purposeful. Did you guys see Simu Liu's comments?
Yes.
He said,
I don't
"This
care
is
about
the
anything that guy has to say at this point.
Final nail in the coffin of gender norms."
Guys, this is
Okay,
it.
Yeah, Barbie's
world's-
gonna do it.
The
in.
world's gonna change, guys.
Dude, Andrew Tate's gonna implode the moment Barbie opens.
No,
in
Andrew
America.
Tate's gonna watch this and then he's just gonna.
Oh
go
my
full
god, I was
feminist.
so wrong this entire time.
This-
If it makes Andrew Tate
This is a great
implode, then I
movie.
will watch the film and support the film, and I will pay lots of money for the film because that needs to happen. But
I agree.
I can't wait to see him with his giant flat screen TV, smoking a cigar, just watching Barbie, while like grind set music is playing in the background, and his brother is just
Carlson
there, like
next to him.
yeah, his brother's just in the in like the background, just like dancing or something.
Should we make like actual predictions for like the total amount of money these movies make at the end?
$1 billion.
I don't think it's making $1 billion.
No, it
I'm
won't make.
I'm pulling a Mr. Brown here. It's $1 billion.
Uh
Mr. Brown, where are you? You agree with me, right? I don't even know if he's here.
no, he'd give it a 1.
If it's gonna open to over 100, then I will give it 6. You know what? I'll average. I was gonna say between 6 and 800. So how about 700 million? I'll say 700.
I think the
I was
budget
gonna-
for both of these movies is 100 mil for both of these.
I know that's
Barbie's
it's
100
That's
140
reasonable.
45.
145 for Barbie. Oppenheimer
145. Okay,
is hold on. Oppenheimer.
crazy. It looks better than Ant-Man.
I mean,
A
everything
lot of
looks better
movies
than
do.
Ant-Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
looks better than Indy.
Movies made 30 years ago look better than Ant-Man.
You know,
I like that. It's one of
crazy?
those lines that you never ever need to put in a review. It looks better than Ant-Man. It's
Goes
just a
without
given.
saying. Sky's
It's like,
blue.
there's a
grass
line in my
green.
Indiana Jones script, and as I was writing it, and then I wrote it and didn't even notice, and I recorded it, and I suddenly realized, holy shit, why did I even put that in? I said the intro, it's a toss-up between this one and Crystal Skull for which of them is the worst, and that is the most obvious statement you could possibly make about an Indiana Jones film.
Crystal Skull was way better.
Overall, Crystal Skull's a much better film, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we can agree on
Oppenheimer
that.
was 100 million flat. That was their budget. So
Why
That's
is every
surprising with
channel
the amount of
obsessed? Has nothing to do with quality. No, it doesn't have anything to do with
It's
quality.
just interesting.
It's
No,
it's how to it's
Yeah,
it's
the
how to
box
gauge
office
how
is
an
the way to
audience is
gauge-
responding
yeah.
to it too.
it's talking head boxes having bragging rights over who got the closest number. That's really what it is.
Yeah,
But
like,
it's
for
also a sign
me,
of
box
where
office is
cinema is going.
interest.
So, like, if there's going to be a sequel to anything, it's going to be a sequel to the one that made probably quite a lot of money. So, if you fear the prospect of a Barbie 2, it's worth paying
Barbie
attention to
2!
the box office for Barbie 1 because Yeah, it's like one of the reasons I find Avatar so annoying as a film is that it did so incredibly well at the box office, and I don't think it deserved the money. You're right; it's not synonymous with quality, but the fact it did so well is evidence that we will get more and more and more of this utter shit. And it's interesting to speculate as to why people will go and spend so much money watching this garbage as well.
And that goes both ways. So, like, say a movie comes out, there's a cliffhanger. It's genuinely well received by most people, critics, audiences, but it bombed. There's no point in discussing, well, man, that cliffhanger, like, well, what are they going to do in the sequel? Because there will be no sequel because it didn't make any fucking money. And that's just kind of how things go. And just generally for me too, I find box office really interesting. I've kind of followed it as a hobby for about 20 plus years now, since I was like in middle school or high school. And it's changed a lot in that time. So it's just cool to reflect back on my own experience of tracking it for a hobby and seeing the trends and things that how it's changed and evolved. And it also speaks to how audiences consume movies. And also it's how box office goes is how movies are shown to people and how they are marketed and how they're made. Like 20 years ago is nothing like 40 years ago with box office. And so like 20 years ago, a movie could have legs. It could open. There was no movie before 2002 that opened over to $100 million. Now there's like 100 movies. So nowadays movies are marketed where it's the opening weekend that matters more than anything. Mm-hmm. That never used to be the case, especially 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Movies would play for like 8 months in movie theaters, 10 months in movie theaters. Now you get it 45 days on streaming, like most films. So it's just interesting anyway. And it's, it's cool to see how production companies market the films and how people consume them. That's all it's do with box office.
Don't forget that for a very long time, the largest all-time grossing film was Titanic. And that wasn't really marketed as like this must see, everybody has to see this. It was marketed as more of like a couples film, come watch it. And it like turned into, it got legs as it went along and just kept making money and making money and making money. And then at the time it was, I think they really only measured in domestic back then. Like you never really heard about worldwide gross, but I remember it was like $600 million and no one had ever seen anything like that.
Yeah. The first movie to cross $1 billion was Titanic, wasn't it?
I think so, that's worldwide, but like back, I remember back then they only really talked about domestic gross, and it was just, it didn't, like, it had a fairly big opening, but it just kept going every week. It was kept making money, and they just kept it in theaters for like ever. It was like, I think Titanic was in theaters for like 9 months.
It was like, so think of it like this. Titanic now, after a couple of re-releases, domestic has like a $700 million plus gross. The original run was around $630 million. It opened to $27 million. Nowadays, a movie needs to open, like a movie that made a little bit more than that, Avengers Endgame, that opened at $357 million. That is a massive difference in how movies are consumed and also how they're marketed. They're marketed as events like, hey, come out and see this now. You need to see this now. Yeah. Or back then it used to be about the legs.
The closest thing, yes, that was a bug. I do it all the time at work, and people are like, "Did you really do that?" I'm like, "Yes." The closest thing I can say recently was Maverick, because Maverick, like, even though it did open pretty big,
it opened like 125 million plus.
But it's pretty huge. But it kept going and going, and that's how it ended up getting to $1 billion. Was they just refused to take it out of theaters, and it was that was basically how movies were for a long time. I remember when I was a kid, and like you would wait 2 years for a movie to come out on VHS, because first of all, they were harder to make than DVDs and harder to make than Blu-rays, and obviously way harder than streaming. But you waited a good like 2 years. You'd go
long time.
And so they kept them in theaters while they were making the VHS tapes. You know?
Well, and I think that's kind of like I don't know. I was thinking about this a lot, just thinking about like the writer's strike and all that shit. Like, why movies don't make as much money, even though they make a lot more money, it seems. But with like inflation and stuff, you could argue that they don't.
cost a lot more though.
Yeah, they also
cost
a
way
shit
more.
ton.
But like, I know, like, even in my brain, there's a lot of times where I'm like, shit, I could go see that movie, but I could literally wait 1 month and watch it at home. Where like it used to be so much more like if you wanted to see a fucking movie and talk about it, you had to go to a theater and see it to be able to like have that water cooler discussion at work or like kids at school kind of thing.
Or if you didn't want it to be
Uninspired just
spoiled
gave
because
me-
I was gonna say, or you didn't want it spoiled because you were at home cutting up somebody's video for a while, and now you're on a stream where they spoiled the shit.
Movie Cynic just gave me, or not Movie Cynic, Uninspired Reviewer just gave me flashbacks to freshman year of high school when Greatest Showman came out. Every white girl and their mom were singing the entire song.
Very recently for you?
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Like, man,
came
like,
out my
I
freshman year of high school.
2 weeks ago. No.
I think my sophomore year of high school was when Attack of the Clones came out, if I recall correctly.
Whoa.
Yeah, I hated that movie so much just because everyone was singing the entire soundtrack. And then I had to watch the movie in choir and everyone was singing to it and I just hated myself.
Just to clarify, we're back talking about The Greatest Showman and not Attack of the Clones there, right? So
Yes. No one was singing.
The soundtrack.
Hey, Andrew was like,
like
not even in
Sam's.
grade school when Attack of the Clones came out either. So
I was in
What year was that?
fucking high school.
Yeah, me and Cynic are practically the same age, so.
Yeah, I know we look like it too.
Oh yeah, I don't look like 14 years older than him.
Someone called me in one of my sponsorships because I'm on camera for my sponsorships, my videos. Someone commented that I look like a Gen Z douche that gets no pussy. He said,
Attack of the Clones came out.
You should have fucked with him and been like, well, at least one of those is true.
I want to be like, you think I'm Gen Z, dude? Oh no, an early 20-something Gen Z douche. Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I've looked older than my age my entire life. I always looked like 10 years older than I was.
I'd say
I was like 5 years old, and people were like, "Are you getting a job soon?" I was like, "I'm in elementary school. What's going on?"
Hey, what do you work?
I legit, no joke, started shaving at like 10 years old. So I'm not even kidding about
Man.
that. Like,
wish.
That was without blue hair. I haven't had blue hair for a while. So the sponsorship was with no blue hair.
Attack of the Clones came out before I was born. So
Ooh, that makes me feel old. Not shit.
not by much. I was born in November. It came out in May.
Oh my god,
That's crazy.
I was in high school. Wow.
What year did it come out?
2002, right?
Could someone
2002,
highlight that
May-
comment
May
from
16th.
Steak Sauce 232, please?
Yeah,
What?
hang on, I grab it.
You're so
DarkHour.
close, it's not even funny.
He really is.
It's like, I'm not Italian, but I am from New Jersey.
Dude, like that's good though, because once you pass the age and you still look the exact same,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm
That's good.
actually mostly Eastern European, just for that particular person.
I'm
Yeah.
black, so I don't age. I just got these sweet fucking genes.
Well, I'm also like the descendant of a Choctaw chieftain, so at some point I have to stare. At some
Does
point I have
everyone
to
know who
stare
Dustin
at
is?
like a garbage dump and just have a tear roll down my eye at some point. So
I was gonna say Cynic kind of looks like Platoon's twink.
I'm
friend
just
or
telling you
something,
that
know?
you're about to get a flood of people trying to figure out what I am because now someone just said I'm Bulgarian.
You're definitely white.
Oh, I'm white. Trust me, I'm
As
white.
long as we got that locked down.
I am
You're
1% Nigerian according to my genealogy test. So
Hey, you can claim racism with me. Let's go.
okay, I have a little story about that. I got my
Oh,
genealogy
no.
test back the day before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I went into work and I was like, "Look, 1% of me is really angry about being here right now. The rest, the other 99%, not particularly happy either. But that 1% is really pissed."
Oh shit. DarkHour is American.
I mean, if you saw the 4th of
That's
July
true.
episode, yes, very American.
Yeah.
Yes, amen.
Hell yeah, brother. We love freedom up in here.
Yo,
Give you a stone cold stunner.
I'm waiting to see if anybody gets this right. And
Platoon.
You're Greek.
Is there like
I'm
a
guessing Greek.
we lost the the Empire Day in Britain or something.
We lost the Empire Day.
No,
Yeah, like
according
Empire
to
Break.
Platoon,
We never
that-
did. I don't know. I don't know where you get your information.
Yeah. Again, he's a lizard man, remember?
Because I know we have Canada Day in Canada, which is like 3 days before Independence Day because we're better than you. But like I've never heard of Britain celebrating being British.
That's because they were kicked out of almost every country on the planet. At
You
this
see,
point. They don't have much to. They don't have much to go based on anymore. They're just like
patriotism is the final refuge of the scoundrel. It's a famous quote. Like nobody in this country is. We're all far too self-deprecating to be proud of who we are. All I'm saying is that there's a reason we still give out Knights of the Order of the British Empire, and it's not because the Empire has gone away. It's just that
Yeah, keep that there.
we
Keep
manage
that
it in
there.
a
Right
different
there.
way.
Amen, brother. Keep it there.
British people, am I right?
Right?
True.
I
God,
remembered
that's so
mid conversation that I had this.
What level of donation do I have to do for you to fake an American accent for an entire stream?
Oh, for a whole stream?
Yeah.
When the first time we had Altiari on, he did a
yes.
Southern American, an
I
American
remember that
accent that was
episode.
Southern. Let me say
Yeah.
it that way, and it was incredible.
This stream has been derailed, by the way.
I remember
that.
that. I think I was like,
I was
I was
dying.
making something.
I
was
must have
making
missed that.
something, and I
Your-
just
your
hear
very
Platoon
first-
go off,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "What?"
Your very first stream, I remember I listened to like in my car. I must have missed that specific thing. 'Cause
He
I
was
don't-
Yeah.
reading super chats, and it was
I'm gonna have to
amazing.
go back and re-watch that now.
This is so good. What are we supposed to be talking about?
Oh, box office.
Barbie.
I don't
Oh,
know.
we
Oppenheimer.
you're not supposed to make
Oppenheimer,
predictions.
then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talked about box office.
I was gonna say
I'm gonna
750.
I'm gonna say 600. Like let's go 625 just for the give it a little breathing room.
Okay, all right. So we're playing like Price is Right now style. Like $6.25, Bob.
That's how I
$1,
always
Bob.
play.
625 and $1.
Remember those assholes? They never corrected the rules of that game, by the way, because someone would be like 625, Bob. You're like 626, Bob. Just totally fuck over that person.
There's a lot of comments about Snow White. I can't wait to talk.
Oh
about it.
yes, that is the next
Oh.
topic. Unless there are any final words on Barbie and Oppenheimer, anyone?
Anybody want to
$1
guess
billion.
box office for Oppenheimer?
I'm still waiting to see if anybody.
I was
I'm
gonna say
saying-
650.
Wow, wait, somebody got it
I think
right.
That's high.
Somebody got it right.
Yeah,
I think it'll
it's
have
fine.
legs. I think it's got legs.
Was it somebody Andrew Robanowski got it correct.
What are you?
I'm a big chunk Hungarian. That's
Uh,
my yeah. Hungarian and Austrian are my two largest amounts of what like my
Dick.
grandparents were from.
550.
Yeah, I think
saying
Oppenheimer is somewhere
400.
around 400, 500.
Say 400.
I would say
Yeah.
400-ish.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think.
saying
Yeah, I
400.
can't see it doing a huge amount more. And even that, I don't know. Something in me says that even that might be a bit high for a film like this.
Could be.
I
It
think
really
the
is
only
going to
poll
depend
is
on its
Christopher
quality and
Nolan.
word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the ultimate test for a Christopher Nolan movie. A movie has no real action. It's a
Yeah.
biopic essentially. Like it's going to be interesting to see what his
Yeah.
name really.
I heard a
pulls.
couple of
3
people make the
hours.
comparison with Dunkirk, which I don't think is very apt because
that
Dunkirk
was
is
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an
Oh yeah,
action
that's why I
movie.
thought it was
You're
so
wrong.
blisteringly wrong.
No.
Dunkirk
I
is
was joking.
Dunkirk
I'm not
is
British.
Dunkirk is a traditional war film. It's got action. It's got gunfights. It's the landings at Normandy. It's always very impressive. There's loads of action. This isn't like that. This is more of a biopic in the mold of, I guess, something like Hoover would be more of a comparison. One of those, very, very strict docudramas, which are not hugely action packed at all. I thought Hoover was okay as a film, from what I remember. But again, it's not one of those ones that really did a huge amount of money, even though was it Leonardo DiCaprio who played Hoover in that film?
Yeah, but this does have it's like a build-up because everyone wants to see the bomb detonate. It's almost like how they're advertising it, like, oh, it is going to detonate in the movie. Like you are going to
We
see
already
it.
know that.
Well, yeah, we
I'm
also
gonna
know how it's going to
We
go
got
because it's a
spoiled.
fucking
My history
biopic.
class spoiled me. Screw
go
you,
sit through
Adrian.
3 hours to see a bomb that I've already seen millions of times on YouTube. Okay.
They just cut to classic footage of it.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Actually, they might.
Beautiful.
I could see them doing that.
I guess I didn't actually give a number for Oppenheimer. I'm gonna say 450-ish. 450. That's what I think.
When I'm right, we're coming back on here so I can laugh at all y'all.
What did you say?
All right,
650.
650.
Well, I said 625.
Well,
Well, what do you think for Barbie then?
I said 625 for Barbie.
No,
I said
no,
750. 750.
Okay.
I said
Only
1
100 million difference between them.
Yeah.
So you think Barbie's not going to have as strong legs, and you think Oppenheimer will?
I think Barbie is going to suffer from WB wanting to get it on streaming as fast as they can. And I think Nolan probably has a deal set where he's like, Oppenheimer's going to fucking sit in theaters for a long time.
I did hear
100
somewhere that
days.
he does have a deal with
100
IMAX.
days.
So yeah, 100 days in IMAX it has to be. So he's got that, but that doesn't really help if nobody goes to see the thing in the first place.
True.
On the streaming point, films will go to streaming much more quickly than they used to, particularly if they are bad. So like if they're really
if they had
underperforming
before,
at the box office, then they will immediately, like The Flash is going to be on Disney Plus in
Flash
not
is
Disney
so
Plus,
bad.
it's going to be on
Max
streaming
now.
in
Max. It'll be on Max.
I can't believe
within
that
a couple of weeks.
It
But that's because it
Guardians.
underperformed. So there's no really financial incentive to keep it in the cinemas. But streaming economics is pretty well understood now to be not very good. They won't make money really from putting Barbie on streaming very quickly if it's doing so well in the cinema. So if it does really well in the cinema, I'd expect it to stay there a lot longer and be on streaming in 2 or 3 months as opposed to 1.
Can I just want to touch on this really quick. I've actually been contemplating that a lot. And like, I know that everybody thinks that Disney Plus loses a lot of money because they keep saying that it does. But, you know, they're really good at their fucky accounting tricks with movies. Does anybody not assume that they're doing that with their streaming services?
But that doesn't mean that they made money with
We
their
can't pay
fucking
anyone
accounting
because we lost $1 billion. You guys.
Yeah, I saw a tweet saying
That-
like mocking people wanting a slice of the revenue, and they're like, haha, because this movie doesn't turn a profit. I'm like, no, dude, no movie has turned a profit if you're asking actual Hollywood accounting. Like that's reality.
they hide the
Return
profit.
of the Jedi, anybody, and
Return
like
of the-
Peter
yeah.
Mayhew.
I feel like it's got to be the same for
Even
streaming.
Lord of the Rings, it was the same. With Lord of the Rings trilogy.
No, I see.
No.
I think you can overstate how much creative accounting goes on, and certainly with streaming services. So the basic investment proposition of a streaming service is, hey, investor, here is my streaming service. This is our subscriber growth. This is how much it gives us. These are projections for subscriber growth. Ergo, here is how much money we're going to make in the future. So invest, and it will be worth your while in the long run.
Yeah.
That only works if A, you have subscriber growth to show for it, which they don't at the moment, and B, that they can prove that the amount of money per subscriber is continuing to increase, which it isn't. And also, it only works if the impression actually holds. And at the moment, you've got big accounting firms like Deloitte put a report out a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, and one of the other big accounting firms, it might have been KPMG, put one out a week or so before that, which was doing a deep dive-ish analysis into the economics of streaming services. And the conclusion is rapidly forming amongst the people whose job it is to keep track of the books, including the creative ones, that streaming as an economic proposition is dead. It's not going to make anyone any money ever, really, in the future. It's had its time. And now we're in for a period of consolidation. Then you get into the question of, well, who's consolidating into what? Which streaming services will emerge as the biggest? And again, that's going to be largely an investor proposition. You're going to need to be able to prove results, not that you've written off money from films that never make a profit, but rather that you are making a profit on films which are incredibly successful. And again, not many streaming services can claim that at the moment. So I think it's probably a better critique for films and the cinema industry than it is for the streaming one.
Well,
I don't even understand how they say this streaming movie made money if it's on a streaming platform that people say pay a single fee a month for.
The closest they've come to try and match the old rating system is to judge by viewed minutes, which seems to me to be not quite the same.
Yeah, that doesn't work though.
There's a reason why
faulty way to do it.
There's a reason why these streaming services are starting to cannibalize one another, and it's because of everything Platoon just said. Is that it's becoming harder and harder for them to like show like any kind of growth because it's not tied to any specific thing.
Right?
You can't like it's you like if actually I mean everybody here has a YouTube channel. Like sometimes your YouTube channel will say, "Oh, you gained X number of people for this video." But if if a person watched that video, clicked off of it, and watched a different video, but they still subscribed because they saw that first one, it's not going to register that. You can gain 150 subscribers for one video, or that's just a number I picked out my ass. But it could have actually been 500, but they didn't do it immediately while they were watching it. So it's the same thing with it's the same thing with streaming services. There's no way to quantify whether or not people are subscribing specifically for something.
It's great. Like, any average YouTuber can actually give a much stronger investment pitch than most streaming services do. We can simply go to the back end and say, look, this is objectively subscribers, income, views, and I'm happy to give you this information. Streaming services will say, this show was really successful because, let's do a really deep dive into one specific part of the analytics. Well, viewer retention rate was at 37% for the first 45 seconds. That proves we're really successful. Like, no, that's not going to sell it for people for very long, I don't
Yeah,
think.
like how are you
licking
going to
at the
say
chops,
Rings of
like-
Power did anything when it said 2/3 of people stopped watching after episode 2?
Yeah.
Well, and the
I was
recent
part of
release
that.
figures for the Disney Plus Marvel shows, when it turns out that half of us have videos with more views than She-Hulk episode 1 did, for example.
Right.
My She-Hulk video got more views in total than the original viewership rates for She-Hulk episode 1, which is insane.
It doesn't
Shouldn't
even
be that
make
way.
any sense. Like, how is there more people watching you shit on a show than the show itself?
Because it's funny.
I mean, it's
people
fun-
don't have to pay to watch Platoon's video.
That's
what they
too.
think.
True.
No, what is funny though is they don't have to pay, but like to make it a living, like I need the advertising on it, and then they'll like I've once in a great while get complaints about advertising. I'm like, what do you?
How dare
I need
you
to
make
money
a living?
somehow, dude? Like what the fuck?
Die in a hole.
Start a Patreon that I won't subscribe to, you fucking dick.
Yeah,
You should be editing on an upturned KFC bucket. Get rid of your gaming chair. You don't deserve that, and you don't really need a monitor to do your job.
I feel like Apple's model for streaming service is like what it will end up being eventually, which is like you'll probably have one like Netflix that has all your collective of past shows where people go to watch like fucking Friends and How I Met Your Mother and all that shit. But the idea of like if you go to Apple, they have like a good amount of content now, but even when they were starting and even now it's pretty sparse, and I think that's a good thing because I go specifically to Apple to watch a certain show and then I'm like, cool.
And it's at least trying to do fairly prestige content. So it's not mass producing, as you say, it's quite sparse, but it is trying to make every one of its originals seem properly, well produced, expensive, properly written, unless you account for the foundation, because that's just fucking hell. But like Tetris is a really good film. Tetris is one of the best films I've seen this year, and that's an Apple TV exclusive. That was really very impressive.
They advertise the shit out of every show that they put up, which I like enjoy because there's so many. Like, I don't even know how many shows come out on fucking Disney Plus. I'll sign on and be like, what the fuck? Like, The Banner is some show that I've never even heard of that like is up there for 3 days and then it's gone.
Yeah. Do you want to watch Resident Evil, the torment of
God?
Phineas?
I think
It's
Amazon's
just
better than.
Don't even get me started on Resident Evil stuff.
I think
I don't know, man. Apple's like, if I want to watch something good that I haven't heard of, a lot of the time I'll just go to Apple TV and just like click through and be like, this looks okay. And usually I'm like, this is pretty entertaining and pretty well done. I don't know if you finished Silo Platoon, but like
I did.
I thoroughly enjoyed that show.
Yeah,
I
I think it picked up by the
didn't
end.
finish Arcane. That's crazy.
I'm gonna get around to it. I liked Arcane. I just ran out of time, but
I think Silo's better than Arcane. Sorry.
ooh,
I hate
hot
you.
take.
Andrew, another week and I'll watch Arcane because I'll hit
Let's
the number.
go.
I'll hit the number.
All right.
1 week max.
Already?
Basically.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
thought you
only
just
have-
said you hit the number.
No. I need
You had
probably another
3K.
week.
And then
I
we're all
need
going down to
24.
Nashville.
You're all
What?
invited. Come on down.
Yeah,
You're
we're
all
gonna
invited.
we're gonna go punch Elvis in the face.
Yep.
I did try and convince Paul Charlo to do that when he was making his run for 100K, and I said, "So if you hit it, we'll help you, but we're going to do a party at your house, right?" He said, "Yeah, we'll do it." It's like, "You're buying all the food, aren't you?" Yeah. Like, and then you hit
Is
100K, and I
Platoon
said,
showing
"No
up
more
as a
about it."
cardboard cutout?
Yes. Well, no, I'm like the entity from Mission Impossible. I'll just show up on your computer as this weird glowing blue eye that goes. That's
I
how
mean,
announce
or
my
you can
presence.
just show up as you are. I mean, that works too.
No,
That's what
let's
you
just
are.
no. Let's put
But
him
what
on
am
the
I?
TV.
Is the question.
A cartoon
Let's just
character.
put him. Let's just put him on the TV and just have a Discord just running, and he's just in that
Should
voice call.
then he's
And
here like
it's
he's
just
normally
his
is.
avatar.
We should just go rage in Essex. We'll just meet you in Essex.
What I
and
wouldn't
just
what I
rage.
wouldn't give for Platoon to have like a little like a monitor on something he controls from elsewhere and just like walks around on this monitor. Just like
Yes.
this little like
Yes.
The remote
what I-
controlled Segway with an iPad on top.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
actually think you should do that for like a convention. Just show up as an iPad. I think that'd be really funny.
And then like every time somebody asks for an autograph, just a shelf opens up with just pre-autographed pictures, which is literally
It's like a printer just prints it. Oh man,
There's a
This is gonna
fax
be the
machine in the
greatest.
corner.
This is gonna be the greatest Platoon fan meetup ever. It's just everyone's talking to him.
Everyone's there except Platoon. That's basically what it is. It's like, all of his fans are here, and he's not. Okay.
What are we shitting on next?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the the Snow White
Snow White.
situation?
Oh,
I just saw
yeah.
that. I just saw those pictures today, actually.
Aren't they hilarious?
Yeah.
I like that they
There's
were officially
something.
denied and then officially clarified as being real but unofficial. It's like, what the hell's going on in your marketing department over there?
The lead actress is winning over a lot of people too. She was she retweeted that more men need to be called fucking losers.
Really?
True.
Yes,
Preach,
yes.
girlfriend.
I saw someone say that, and I was like, let me verify that. And I went to
I
her
can
Twitter page. And
assure
sure as
you, at
hell,
least 80% of this panel has been called a loser at some point in our life.
Oh, I've been called way worse than a loser, my friend.
We all have YouTube.
Yeah, have you ever checked my
questions. We get
comments?
this every day.
I
Dear
can't
God.
confirm for Platoon because I don't actually know if he exists. So it's
Listen, we were all bullied.
that's why I said 80%.
So yeah, let me I'll find the pictures. You guys discuss. Hang on, I'll pull it up.
I'm all for more men being called
I'm-
losers,
I'm-
but I'm also a big believer in the old-fashioned feminist concept of equality. So for every new man who gets called a loser, we also have to obligatorily call a woman a loser as well. Because that's how this works, right? It has to be 50-50, I think.
Yes.
Unless she's assuming that a lot of women get called losers.
I've never really I've seen it in movies, but I've never heard someone call a girl or a woman in my life a loser.
A
out
loser,
loud
I know.
in my life, not once.
I've done it. I've done it.
I've heard a lot of nasty things thrown at women, like in terms of like being called things, but loser is not one of them.
Yeah, it's an odd word to use if you're talking about a woman.
I don't even know if I'd be phased if someone called me a loser.
I'd be like,
My
yep.
face would be like, what? Okay.
Someone called me a loser. I'd be like, someone saw my jujitsu match record clearly.
Played Apex
just below,
with Andrew.
just below 500.
Okay.
I had a feeling that those pictures weren't legit, only
but
because
they were.
So it's
Like,
they're
the
promotional
lighting on
pictures,
them
right?
is fucking horrendous. Like there's no
Yeah.
screens up. Like
yeah.
it just
They're
it
just
looked
walking.
to me like someone snapped a
I
pic
don't
with
think that
their
they're, like,
mom's
taking-
DSLR camera.
I was gonna
and
say
were like,
they
"Ooh."
look like just cell phone pictures of
Yeah.
like taken from a distance.
So-
From what I saw, I only saw like 2 of the pictures. I don't know if there was more.
I don't know
So-
why.
Only
Just
a
having
couple more, I
trouble.
think. My guess is that these are just, they're on-set photos, so they are the real characters, they are the real costumes, it is the real location, but they are not officially taken as part of... They're not the screenshots from the film, for example. These are just sort of intended for internal circulation, and that's it.
Like
Yeah, it
test
doesn't even
shots?
look like it doesn't even look like test shots to me, because you'd never, like, movies don't
Not
let
use-
sun hit actors like that.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Like that
But
would never
listen,
be in a production.
We do now, boys. We do now.
This-
Sun's out.
so
Sun's
this
out, guns
looks
out.
like-
You know what
yeah,
I'm
this
saying?
looks like the line of like an opening day of a movie that I really don't want to go see. That's basically what I'm seeing. here.
This
is
looks
the
like it's part of Hercules: The Legendary Journeys.
Yes.
That dude in the back looks like the fucking QAnon shaman. Like,
that guy looks like Asmongold.
Can we predict which one we think is each? Can we do that? Like,
I think. Well, there's diversity and diversity, and that one in the middle is diversity. There's also diversity, 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 and diversity.
Okay, can someone explain to me why there's 8 of them?
there's one that's cut off of the picture right now.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Isn't there supposed to be 7?
Actually, no, I don't think
Oh,
that's
no,
the
there
dwarf.
is-
I
there
think
is
that's
7.
the prince.
Well,
I think
yeah.
that's the prince.
Oh, okay,
in front
maybe.
of
I
the-
don't know. I was just.
Maybe the number 7's racist now or something, and they had to up it. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
This
It's
is
like
why
they've gone
aren't
out of
they-
their way to make the Harfords and Rings of Power look redeemable. Like,
Yep.
what are you doing?
Like, why do they all look like they just fucking mugged someone from 1973, like Times Square?
Yeah, these costumes don't even look of time. If they're trying to
They
do
don't
the
even look like
medieval.
they're from the same period.
Like,
a
They
month
don't
ago.
look like costumes. They look like
Like-
actors just fucking showed up and were like, "I'm homeless. Can I be
Like
in this?"
the one on the second one from the right looks like that's like something straight out of some weird 70s club scene, and then you go one behind him, and that's
And he's wearing a beanie
Yeah.
Fucking
and a
Yeah,
suit.
that's
He's wearing a
where,
suit
like-
jacket.
Yeah, that's like somebody who was protesting in Central Park a few years ago.
And there's Pirates of the Caribbean in the middle,
Yeah.
at least. And
I don't know if this is gonna get you demonetized, but the dude in the middle is fucking packing. Like, I don't know if that's part of his costume, but holy
I
shit.
didn't notice that. Leave it to you, Bagface. I can't unsee that,
brother. Yeah.
I mean, he
they
is the
must be
most
magical
celebratory
creatures.
of the 7. I will point this out. He is definitely the one pumping his fists in the air. So,
it's the alpha dwarf.
Yeah.
and then like the one on the very end, the one in the back doesn't even look like he belongs. Like it looks like he just wandered in from yesterday.
He looks like a woman that looks like.
Like he looks like he just came from some weird rally that nobody knew, and he didn't explain. Like no one explained to him that this wasn't part of it.
The guy in
seen
the
that
back
sweater.
left looks like he watches his girlfriend get fucked by someone else.
That's what I was talking about. Like he looks like he just came
Looks
from
like
some weird
Asmongold.
rally, and that's just
know
what he
who
was
he is.
wearing that day. And he was like, "Oh, here's my people."
I've
This is
seen
that guy
that
Adam
sweater.
22.
I swear to God, I've seen that sweater in Forever 21. Like, not
I
even
think
joking.
He looks like he works at a gas station on the late night shift. That's his outfit.
I don't know what gas stations you're going to.
Listen, I go to some weird gas stations. All right,
I live in the
He
land
looks
where you
exactly
don't actually
like
have to get out of the car, so I'm happy about that. They just do it for me.
The
Like-
comments are on fire here.
oh, we have a turtle's own.
I'm like, excuse me, peasants, come over here and fill my gas tank, please. And here, I'm going to pay you with this app, so I don't even have to hand you anything.
They're all
That's basic.
I
That's
can't
New
wait
Jersey.
to rip this movie apart.
I once went to Reading Festival and I was tripping, and I saw coming out of the crowd, I saw this Victorian woman pushing a pram, and it looked less weird and out of place than the guy at the back of this shot does.
Can you?
I would be willing to bet that I was on 2CB if you just showed me this
Can
and
you
said,
translate that
this
into
is in the film. I
American,
say, no,
please?
it's not. This is all a figment of my imagination. This can't really exist. I also saw
Put it-
Osama bin
okay.
Laden dancing with the Queen.
It's like every person who comes up to you and is like, "Have you ever been to Burning Man? It changed my life.
Yeah, you've heard of Burning Man?
Open my eyes. We don't
Ewan
need
The
McGregor
more I
society,
stare at
bro."
this picture, the more ridiculous it becomes. Like it's. What
They
the
all
hell
look
are they
high
doing
as
with the
fuck
sticks?
too. Like they all look completely.
They're walking
blasted.
stick.
Yes,
They
but the
do.
one with the blue stripy shirt, the third from the back, that looks like a table leg.
Well, it's a club of some sort. That's a
Listen.
weapon, not a walking stick.
Yeah, the
Listen,
other
they're
two-
magical creatures, not peaceful
Look, okay,
creatures.
so that one's
all right?
either a club or a table leg, one or the other. Then you have the guy here who clearly robbed Donatello of his bow staff in the 70s, and then the guy behind him looks like he just pulled a tree branch off of a, like.
Hey, listen, that's what guys do. You ever walking in the forest, you find a good stick, you pick it up, walking stick.
Oh yeah, it's
A
it's
good
a
stick
walking
right
stick
here.
or a
It's a good
sword, depending on who's watching.
Yeah.
This is a good stick.
And nobody's
It's a
even
good
mentioned
stick.
anything about the. I mean, I think we all feel bad for the one in the very front.
The only actual dwarf
only-
there.
Yeah, the one who's who's like the only one that got hired so they can legally say it.
He's the dwarf all the other dwarfs call dwarfy.
Like,
it is
why even
crazy.
put one in?
But he
though?
actually has to ask the other dwarfs to reach the high shelf. That's and the high
Yeah,
shelf is only the
is-
second shelf.
Is their entire house dwarf level for him, or is the whole thing normal person level?
I don't-
and he
I-
just takes the L.
This is the most
Crazy?
animated I've been in a while. So it's
I actually
just-
don't think they have a home. I think they're going to be homeless.
The more you look at it, the less sense it makes.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal.
They're homeless.
this is just the
100% in
first. This is
movie.
only the first picture that we're looking at. I can't wait to see what else.
Oh
we
yeah,
have
there's
here.
others.
I
The
saw.
homeless people. They have to be homeless. That's the only way to explain their
Like
outfits.
this honestly makes it. I think that this is taking place in some sort of like random like community upstart in Seattle. That's like the only thing I can understand. It's like it looks like people just gathered together and were like, here's all the clothes, just take it.
Remember the Capitol Hill occupied zone? Chaz was it?
Yeah,
Chaz, these
that's
are the
what I was
kind of
talking
people
about.
you would find there.
I
yeah.
couldn't remember the name of it off the top of my head. That's where I think they came from.
It changed to CHUP. It was Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and then they realized that they were legally viable to be like invaded because you're not allowed to do that. So they changed it to the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, these people look like they've got an allotment there, and I think that's where they've come from.
My camera died, by the way. It took 2 hours.
All right.
Damn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to pull up a picture of Snow Not White herself.
Oh, you're not even going to
Yeah.
use the what she sees angle? Oh my god.
No, because I'm
sorry, chat. You don't
I-
get content today.
I pulled an actually Andrew and put my laptop up on books.
He's actually moving.
What? No, it's not a laptop. It's a monitor.
And now it's a monitor. Hang on, we'll get this bitch going.
They're
I
good
saw-
books though.
How is
A
it
good,
that I had the second most reliable setup until Platoon upgraded everything? How is that possible?
You say that my computer just randomly turns itself off now, so I don't really know if it is reliable. It's very good when it works, though.
Bagface has probably the best setup. Out of all of
That
them.
sounds like a power issue.
They did say in the leaflet, make sure you check all the power connectors because something might have come loose, and I thought, fuck it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Fuck it.
I would just
Probably
open,
get a new
open
power
up the
supply.
panel and just check your
Odds she keeps the Uggs on for the whole movie.
Hey, listen. If she keeps the Uggs on, that's
a staff
empowerment.
member or another dwarf. It's hard to tell.
Why does she have? Are those a bunch of different hairpins like that are?
That's got to not be
Yes.
a part of it. It's holding her hair down for like between takes.
Let's hope.
But oh my god,
I have way less to say about her than I did about the first picture, but like,
There's another picture, isn't there, of her on the same location as the
Yeah.
other dwarfs?
Yeah,
or
let me
anything.
find that.
the costume just looks
beastly
so
one.
cheap. That's what I'm gonna say. It just looks like it
Yeah.
seriously looks like something you could get at like Party City or like
Yeah,
a Halloween store or
comparing-
something. Like,
Comparing all of the recent remakes to like the first one they did with Cinderella, like Cinderella at least looked nice from what I can remember. These are just so cheaply done. And what's the budget for this? Has the budget been announced?
I'm on it.
publicly? All right, because I searched up Snow White budget and it came up with the first one, and the budget for that was 1.5 mil, just flat. So, which I haven't tested for inflation, but it's probably going to be like 200 mil plus, I assume. I'm actually going to just for inflation.
Yeah.
now.
It does, oh, here maybe it'll be actually maybe
There
they'll
we
have
go.
one. No, even the Wikipedia page doesn't have like an estimate. So that was my last ditch effort was the Wikipedia page. But it
This
doesn't seem like
doesn't
it's
look
anywhere.
like her at all. Like the main
Looks more like
actress,
it looks
she-
like more like Little Red Riding Hood.
Well, the actual actor, this looks like an extra, like a stand-in. That doesn't look like the actor from the other picture. This looks like a completely different person. They might just Photoshop her face in later or something.
It's
No,
just
that looks
not-
like her.
No, yeah, I could see her. It doesn't look like Snow White. It's-
Yeah, I'm
well,
not
that's
saying it looks
that's
like
true.
Snow
That's the
White.
big issue here. That's what we're running into.
she
So
played
here's
a
the thing is-
fucking Puerto Rican in West Side Story. Like,
Here's the thing. So a lot of
That's why she was in
times,
West Side Story.
a lot of times,
and
you
she
could-
plays the not white group.
And
That's what I don't.
Shazam,
Who the
too.
fuck just? Oh fuck.
So here's the
She's
thing.
in
is look-
Shazam. Who is she in Shazam?
Shazam.
She was the
The youngest
the-
bad
well, one-
person.
Yeah, the young bad person that
Oh, the hot one.
Yeah. I mean, she's pretty hot. I'm not gonna say she's, but
She is.
So here's the thing about like a lot of times you one of the disabling arguments for any kind of race swap or anything is, well, it doesn't state it in the text or the dialogue that the person has to be a certain way. That's
But
not the
it
case
does.
with Snow
It is.
White.
Yeah.
Snow White there's a line
This
in it
is-
about having skin as white as snow.
I mean,
It's-
in her
it's-
defense, she's probably the lightest shade of Colombian you could be.
Whitest
like-
shade of Colombian.
Whitest
I'm saying
Colombian.
like, and a lot
in-
of times I do, you know what? I give it to people when they say it. And if it doesn't say it in the text or the dialogue, and it's just heavily implied but doesn't specifically state, okay, you win this argument. That's true. But in this particular one,
yeah.
it's in the actual
Even-
description.
It's
She's
the reason she
also-
is called Snow White. So there was the line about her having skin as white as snow, but it's also her mother looked at her and said, "Hey, your skin's as white as snow. I'm going to call you Snow White." The only reason she's called Snow White is because she is bright as the driven snow.
Okay, but
There's
what if
also
this is
this-
actually a huge troll? Like, what if the purpose, like the literal purpose of this one is like, well, yeah, we're just gonna stick it to them so they all don't shut up about it. I could see.
That's
Ryan
what it is
Kimmel
at this
posted
point.
something that's fucking hilarious.
I
Well,
love
I
the
mean, they
cat
could-
popping in and out. By the way,
I mean, that isn't that what they did with Little Mermaid? Like, they
Yeah,
did
but
it
you could
just kinda
argue
like-
Little Mermaid could be black in a way, you know, like obviously.
Yeah, there are ways you can make that work.
Yeah, but like this one, it
Yeah,
feels like
this
they're
one
just
is
like,
literally
oh, I
can't work.
dare you to say it, you racist.
So here she said, Extremely appreciative of the love I feel from those defending me online, but please don't tag me in the nonsensical discourse about my casting. I really, truly do not want to see it. So I leave you with these photos. I hope every child knows that they can be a princess no matter what.
So in the first place, can someone in chat please quickly tag her, just because that would really annoy her. I think that would be funny.
Right. So to
don't harass her.
point
Just
that
do it
it's totally
once,
that
20.
like people need to be seen. So her casting is totally fine. And you can't be another character unless you see yourself on screen. She posts herself as a child in a ton of pictures that are of her dressed as a white character. So she clearly saw herself
why
in these characters that were already white.
Can someone explain to me why she has hers in her pronouns? When did they start
Just
doing
in
that?
case.
When did they start adding
in case you can't tell the difference, I guess.
Like, when did they start adding the plural version of the possessive?
She can be multiple people. It's fine at the same time.
I can't wait till the day where it's like they're just the pronouns get so long it's just off the screen, and it'll just annoy people who do it that they can't fit their pronouns.
It's already having the LGBT is now, is it 2S LGBTIQ AW plus something? That one's getting longer every single year.
There's another A. What's the other A stand for?
God knows.
Asexual, probably.
Yeah, there's an asexual in there somewhere.
That's what the first A
androgynous.
Like
I don't
ally?
know.
Let's search the definition.
Could be ally. Yeah, who knows? Anyway, the point is, it is already exponentially multiplying.
Yeah, I remember when
Cynic is right. So like,
LGB.
this is the really, really irritating thing when all of these people, like actors who are put in recast roles, and they say this is just show everyone that you don't, that you can be a Disney princess as well. So okay, fine, but they didn't need to see themselves. You didn't need to see yourself as that person in order to pretend that you were that person. Why are you assuming that nobody else has the imagination that you do?
I don't know.
It's weird.
Blows my mind that this rule doesn't apply to any character that isn't a protagonist. It's like no one's casting Idris Elba as fucking Hitler because he's a great actor. He'd play a great Hitler, but nobody's doing that.
He would rock this shit as Hitler. Okay,
he would.
Oh, he would. He would be the best Hitler
now
everyone's known.
Yeah.
In fact, he would rock it so well that he'd win
Doing
World
the
War
Knuckles
II.
voice. Amen, brother.
He would kill the Russians simply out of sheer shock factor of him being black. They'd be like, "Holy shit, we can't even deal with this concept." But no, I agree with you that it never goes the other way. It doesn't. You see.
Yeah, you can't you can't show minorities in a non-flattering light, but it's okay to like take white people out of a flattering light and put them into a non-flattering light.
Like last year there were a couple. So I enjoy the horror genre quite a bit, and they did a Hellraiser remake, and they hired a I don't even know if they were like non-binary or if they were trans to play Hellraiser, and it totally like it
I remember
suits
that.
the character.
So good.
Yeah, that was really good. But then I called the twist because there was the one white guy, and I was just like fucking, and I was right, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like you guys can't even like write yourselves out of obvious tropes that you guys have written over the past like 6 years. It's just, and it was the same with the Scream 6 movie. I was like, oh, who's the white character? Yeah, he's the bad guy, and I was right. It's fucking
Same
annoying.
Halloween 3 or Halloween, what is it? Halloween Ends. Yeah.
Even The Last of Us did that. When The Last of Us introduces a character who's a white Christian guy, and you just think, okay, you're going to be a cannibal, aren't you? And lo and behold, that's what he was.
It's just annoying. It's like you can't subvert my expectations because you're afraid of like offending someone. It's nuts. And I thought art is supposed to be dangerous, man. But
this isn't art though. These are products. I've had this argument so many times with artists that are like, no, everything creative is art. If you create something, it's by definition art, which is something you learn in art school, I guess, where they want to hug you and tell you everything's okay. But like, it's like music. Like arguing that all music is some form of creativity or art is not true. Like a lot of the shit that we consume is literal product. It's no different than Coca-Cola or like fucking McDonald's French fries. It's just
you're 100%
there to be consumed. There's no like, I made an artisanal version of McDonald's today. It was great.
I mean, they even have their own artisanal versions. If you look, they have like their like specialty burgers that they try to make look like they're special.
The
Oh
Grimace
yeah, the
burger.
gourmet range. I remember those.
I
Coca-Cola
was
is
so
art,
down
according to
in there.
Micro Mega.
Coca-Cola is art.
I can actually tell you that there's a company that I know of. They're called Obscura Digital. They're actually they're a projection company, and they do really cool 3D mappings of things. And back, what was it, like the 125-year anniversary or whatever for the Coca-Cola like company, they used projectors and 3D mapped around it to make their headquarters building look like a Coke bottle. It was so freaking cool.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was really cool. And that was done. That was done with projection. That was very awesome.
I'm like doing I'm doing a video about the strike right now, and I'm pretty deep in it. But like one of the main points that I made actually was like the biggest issue I think with Hollywood right now is all these companies have basically become like gigantic hedge fund Silicon Valley startups, and you're trying to fit your whole workforce, which is like creatively driven artistic people, and put them into a framework of like making money with the slimmest possible margins, and it's just destined to fail. It seems impossible that you couldn't, like, even with Snow White, like I'm sure you could cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and there's probably some people out there that could write you a script that would justify that and make it an okay viewing experience, and like would make the story not completely broken from the offset. But there's no way that's going to happen because none of these choices were made with any artistic or creative integrity in mind.
Snow White just got back from vacation in like Hawaii. There you go.
There you go. Easy.
Well, the
Boom.
easy solution is just to say White is her last name. She's related to Walter. It's fine.
No, I think you just go with the she got a tan on the beach. There you go. Done.
You know, honestly, the meth thing would explain all those fucking dwarves. So that would work.
It would.
There's not enough meth in the world to explain
Modern
those
day.
dwarves.
So what are they going to be if they're not actually
magic? I think they're
dwarves?
called magical creatures.
That is a fucking
height
joke.
deficient individuals.
It is bizarre to me that they went with this because like
How can you not
especially if-
differentiate between like the magical like species of dwarves? Like if they do Lord of the Rings again, are they gonna like rename dwarves?
Yes.
I think when
Didn't
you're talking,
Peter
you're allowed to
Dinklage
do it.
complain about this? And there were a couple of Guardian articles. I think I remember seeing Rags respond to them. So there was a Guardian writer who complained that because of the original Snow White, like she would go toddling down the street and people would bully her for it, and therefore it's good that we're no longer calling dwarfs. But then Peter Dinklage said something as well about how that he wasn't. I can't remember what his reasons for being unhappy with it.
He said he didn't want it because he thought it was like stereotyping or something.
Yeah,
Probably typecast.
Well, I saw a
But it's
sick breakdown of like Dinklage basically fucked a bunch of dwarves out of work for this movie by making a bunch of Hollywood studios afraid to cast dwarves as dwarves and saying that it's stereotypical. And then the entire dwarf community kind of responding, being like, hey, you know, like proportionate dwarves, which is like Peter Dinklage, which are like dwarves that don't have the facial features and like limb like proportions as people with like more extreme dwarfism, actually have it like way easier because they just look like small people. It's like, wow, you suck, Dinklage.
Yeah, it's
pissing off
also
the
like
dwarf community is that you've really angered the minds of Moria. But it's it's right because like he didn't have those same complaints when he took the role as Tyrion. Like that wasn't his moaning. He wasn't moaning about typecasting then because he needed that for his career. But as soon as he became successful, up comes the ladder. Yoink! You're not having that.
Or
back.
the giant dwarf he played in Infinity War.
Yeah, fuck that. Oh, that was
I don't know.
worst
It's
shit.
like it is really. It's hard for dwarves to get jobs in Hollywood that aren't just play the children, just in a wig or something. Like it is incredibly rare for dwarves to get like star casts. So Disney, congratulations, you've completely you've wiped out seven star roles, seven star roles, or one of them is a dwarf, right? But I don't know, like a lot of significant.
I'm not so sure anymore.
roles
Looking
for
at that
dwarves.
picture, I'm not so sure that what's going on. Like,
So like, I don't know. Good job, Disney. You messed up again. Try next time.
It's
Maybe they're
literally
going to shrink them down through
It's like
CGI.
saying it'd be
gonna
racist
do
to
it
put a
like
bunch of
that,
black people in the
Charlie
color
and the
purple.
Chocolate Factory style, where they just made the same
Yeah.
guy. Like,
Yo,
Because, of
who-
course, yeah, the prequel to that's coming out as well. Are the Oompa Loompas going to be played by actual dwarves in that, or is that also
No.
offensive
Nope.
because of
Who the fuck is
typecasting?
playing the Oompa Loompa?
they declared who it was.
Hugh Grant is playing
Yeah.
all the Oompa Loompas.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Good job,
I-
Hollywood.
Dude, if they could, they'd
Diversity
probably
for the
eliminate
win.
white people from movies too, but they need villains. So
Like it's like I don't know if anyone caught what I said, but it's literally like saying, you know, it's racist to typecast black people as slaves in movies.
Hmm?
It's like you can't do that anymore because it's offensive. Just make all the white people the slaves.
give it a
You gotta
couple
have,
more
you have
years
to have
back,
diversity
please.
amongst your slaves.
Yep,
Make
gotta
fluidity.
be a diverse cast of slaves.
We got to go back to Django and change all the slaves to Puerto Ricans so nobody gets offended.
Yeah.
No, it would have to be white people. Because
It is.
we're not allowed to get offended. It's fine. We're
True.
legally not allowed.
Yep.
I was offended by the Wonka trailer because holy shit,
I didn't even
that
watch
looked
it yet.
boring
'cause
man,
I
as
just
hell.
don't care.
I was really disappointed.
And
Timothée Chalamet sucks.
I was
Nothing
gonna say,
feels
like, I
ever
didn't see
actor.
Dune, but I can tell you what, just from that trailer alone, I was like, he was cast for the look because he's almost like a skinny white boy, like a Henry Cavill type of deal, where he's cast for the look, but he has zero fucking charisma. That was
I always wanted
Yeah.
to be good, but I mean, I could watch Timothée Chalamet all day, but that would be a very different reason. I always want him to be
There you
proven to be
go.
a good actor, but I think
your-
he's
that's your
okay in
type?
Dune.
I thought he was good in Dune.
I
I
didn't
think
see
so,
Dune,
yeah.
so I couldn't
Especially
speak on that.
Dune
but-
is like a pretty dry.
I'm waiting
movie.
until the second one comes
Um,
out to just kind of watch the first one, then go see.
Yeah,
the
that's
second
probably
there's
The
good.
first one is
three.
still brilliant, irrespective of his character. But in a way, that my defense of him at that time, which again might have just been wishful thinking, is that actually Paul Atreides in the book is also not that much of a character, and so you can't do too much in terms of personifying somebody from the source material who has very little personhood. And I thought that he did a good enough job playing as close to the original version as the script allowed him to do. Didn't allow him to express very much range. I've wanted to see him in which of the Wes Anderson films is it that he's in? Is it The French Dispatch? I think
French
he's in.
Dispatch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I thought might have given him an opportunity to do some more actual acting, but I haven't seen that. He was quite good in Call Me by Your Name. I think he was okay in that. But
It's not as bad as The Rock, but it kind of is the same concept where it's like he's a person employed as an actor that isn't good at acting.
Yeah. I feel like the only time I've ever enjoyed him was in Don't Look Up because he played like a dumb stoner. I was like, oh, it feels like you were made to play this role. Like you
I
fit
don't
that
think I
so
saw
well, Tim.
Well,
As to
also
answer
it
the
feels
question,
like
by the way. Oh, sorry.
it feels like this. I feel like this movie had like a completely different tone when it was originally like made, and then they just kind of flipped it to this whimsical thing, and Timothée Chalamet just cannot fit the whimsical thing at all. Because I remember hearing like rumors that it was going to be a darker take on it, but this just feels awful. Like just insufferable, whimsical feeling to it.
I
It
feel
makes
like
me
in
wonder,
this,
how do these actors get cast? Like it legitimately because he has a really unique look. I mean, Little Platoon
It's-
once.
yeah,
If he wasn't a cartoon, he'd probably
he's
have
hot
sex
right
with him.
now.
A-
That's
a-
it.
It's mostly agents shopping them out, basically. That's essentially how it
It's
works.
crazy. Because there's no talent there, not from what I've seen. Like that is fucking crazy to me that he has gotten these huge roles and brings absolutely zero charisma. It's almost like in that trailer for Willy Wonka, it was almost like I was watching him read his lines for the first time, like a dry run.
Yeah,
and even then, it's he's onto a loser there. I mean, you're being asked to be, well, you're literally asking to be compared to Gene Wilder, and that's not really something you would want to do, I don't think. If you want to come away from this being reasonably successful, I think you're going to have a really tough job doing that. That's one of those things that you either do it brilliantly, in which case you're fine, or everyone says, yeah, you're not as good as the original, though, are you?
it feels like this movie should. I think this movie would be a perfect animated movie, and just get a really good voice actor to play Wonka. Because like you can get away with so much style and whimsical feeling. Like you could make this look like a Dr. Seuss book for all I care.
They basically already did that in commercials years ago for candy. That's essentially
yeah, just I think this would be a great animated movie. Like, what's it rated? Is it rated PG?
I would assume.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, like you
It's
could
still
make
too
more money
early
if
to
it was
tell,
animated a
but-
PG movie.
But there's just so much like there's a lot of nuance to Gene Wilder's take and like
Yeah.
to the character itself.
Yeah.
Like he's not like I feel like they're almost like vanillaing up like Willy Wonka, like no pun
Truly.
intended. But like the dude's supposed to be kind of fucking psychotic. Like
Yeah.
that's what makes him endearing is the fact that he's not like a pretty Timothy Chalamet that's like, I'm gonna give candy to everybody. Like
Scratch
he's
that.
like-
Reverse it.
That was actually the guy who
Oh.
owned the candy shop in the first movie. Who I don't know how that guy stayed in business to this day.
Yeah, like
It
Threw
was almost
candy at
like-
everybody just for free.
So it's like Chalamet said, "Well, I'm not going to be compared to Gene Wilder. I'm going to go 180 and do a shitty job." It's like,
Yes. Good job, buddy.
Hey, no publicity is bad publicity. Apparently, this guy keeps getting work. So
yeah, it's not
I
gonna
mean,
stop
Christ-
him from getting roles.
at least Johnny Depp did something completely different.
Yeah.
Like Gene Wilder's still my
yeah.
favorite Willy Wonka for sure, but at least Johnny Depp
Oh, yeah.
did something. And he did have the line, "Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello." That was a great line.
It's kind of like we were talking about before we went live, me and Cynic, we're talking about the Joker, because we're doing a Dark Knight stream after this, which y'all should come check out.
You should.
But it's like watching people try to play the Joker after watching Heath Ledger play the Joker. It's just there's so much nuance to his portrayal of that character that makes it so like three-dimensional and so well built out, and just like you can feel the motivation and you can feel like his menace, but he also has this weird like lighthearted sense of fucked up humor at all times. I just think it's kind of akin to that, where like you need a Willy Wonka that like doesn't feel like the protagonist in a way, because he's not really the protagonist.
Timothy
Yeah, he should not
Chalamet
be.
Wonka. Timothy Chalamet Wonka is like Jared Leto Joker.
I was gonna say,
Yes.
Yeah,
In fairness
exactly.
to your statement there, only one person has tried to portray live action Joker since then, and so we don't.
He
know
won an
if-
Academy
No.
Award for it.
Wait, what?
so-
Wait, what? Jared
Dude.
Leto won an award.
No.
No.
Joaquin
Joaquin
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he just completely went the like. There is no.
Oh, I
There's not a
forgot.
moment
That's
of
what you
that
gotta
movie
do.
where I
I
laughed.
sorry. I was saying like I actually completely forgot about that one. Oh shit.
Yeah.
So there has been.
How
two.
would you forget about that one?
Because
Made $1
because-
billion.
and that Joker, that Joker is like completely different.
And that's what you.
That's
gotta
why,
do.
because it's not the same
Yeah.
kind of movie. I didn't.
Yeah.
Even, that's why I don't even
Um,
associate that with.
But that's what you'd have to do with this Wonka is like you can't go halfway to Gene Wilder. You have to literally do not a shitty opposite, but you'd have to do the opposite and
I
be
don't
like,
know. It's a
yeah.
tricky one because so Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is not in the same universe. It's a very different take on the same character. He's not playing necessarily an earlier version of Heath Ledger. He's playing a completely different take on the character, and it's hard to do because I think, from what I understand anyway, Wonka is supposed to be a prequel that does tie into the original film. So he has to be a younger version of the Gene Wilder we see. He can't go completely in the opposite direction because that wouldn't make any artistic sense. So he's kind of limited in what he can do with that. But you do also then have to see some of the germs of what Gene Wilder's performance will be coming out in the earlier version of himself. And I don't think, much as I like him, that Timothy Chalamet has the ability to do that. We will see, but I would be surprised if he did.
I gotta say though, the Dune 2 trailer, like, dude looked like he was giving it all that he's got. There was some moments I was like, wow, he's acting. He's really acting.
I think he's one of the promotional scenes for Dune was the library scene. And I wasn't totally on board for him. Like I was like, this guy's all right. But the library scene's pretty good in Dune. And that has a range of emotion. It's also edited and produced very well. So that benefits it too. But yeah, I think Timothy Chalamet is a good actor. It's just this is a giant miscast.
Yeah, he's good at certain things, not necessarily the most versatile, but he can.
Yeah, he's not a wide range actor. He's just really good at like one thing, or a couple things. It's like Harrison Ford, only good at Han Solo.
Or Indiana Jones,
or Indiana Jones.
I'm not going to bring that up. Let's move on to the next thing, please.
Yeah, you dug your own grave on that one.
Listen, I'm
Over
still
the
digging,
course-
brother.
Over the course
I'm
of
still
several
digging, brother.
weeks, you've dug that
I'm
grave.
still digging, bro. Wait,
You're fuck it, you're
video,
lucky
baby.
you keep getting invited back despite your insanely like ridiculous takes on Indiana Jones. But no one's perfect.
Luckily, I'm the co-host though,
Listen.
so
That's
Yeah,
the
I
reason.
I said all Star Wars was bad on like my second appearance on this. I don't think I got as much hate as you did. So
it's
I
just
forgot that you
black.
said
Everyone's
that.
afraid to
That's because people weren't
criticize
paying
you. Didn't you
attention
know
to
that, Backface?
that's fair. That's fair.
Well, people don't like me because I'm a child. So and
You're a
just
white
add on to-
child. People hate you.
I have a
It's that
Yeah.
community college degree you
Oh,
have, or degree you're
elitist.
working toward, or whatever.
yeah.
I went to community college too at one point, so I can't really.
Then I graduated from Ivy League after I switched over. By
No, I didn't graduate. I didn't graduate from. I did go to state school, so it was,
I was
But,
state school all the way through. Is state school the equivalent of community college?
no. So community college is like local college. It's like your county, and then state would be anything that is getting state funding, and then private is usually is completely funded by still state, but in a shady kind of
Yes.
movie accounting sort of way. It's still funded by the state, and then Ivy League is anything that the Ivy League schools were all declared years ago, and they're like the original however many schools there were.
In this country, we lie to people. In this country, you have state school, which is obviously state school. It's the one that's funded by the state. You have public school, which is private, and it's incredibly expensive and mostly funded by parents. And then you have private schools, which is even more private than public schools, which is more private than state.
So yeah, you have literally the same thing. We just have one more level. And community colleges are just 2-year school. They're 2-year programs and then a lot of people just use those to jump to their 4-year program.
No, we have sixth form college. So you do most in this country is mostly primary school, secondary school. Then sometimes there's sixth form college for 2 years, and then it's university. In my area, it was lower school, middle school, high school, upper school, even sixth form, university, in roughly that order.
University here and college are almost interchangeable words. University just means that like usually that there's more than one campus for us. Like college is usually specifically if there's like a one campus, it could still be the same kind of level, but university usually implies more than one campus.
Is there like a huge price spike in post-secondary in the UK too?
No, because our system is ridiculous. And so the government basically says, this is what you can charge. And so everyone charges that. And that's it.
That sounds
This
less
is the max you can
ridiculous than
charge.
like,
Oh, okay, I will.
oh, you're a private company? Well, let's just give you tax dollars.
No,
and you can
because
charge
it means
whatever
that,
you like.
okay, so for example, you will get a really awful converted university that used to be a really awful school. And it will say, we're going to teach you nail fashion and hairstyling. That's £9,000 a year, please. Or you can go to Oxford and they will say, we're going to give you the best possible education in philosophy, mathematics, ethics, whatever. That is also £9,000 a year. So no matter what you're doing, you're going to get charged on loans a huge amount of money, and it doesn't have any impact on whether or not you are employable afterwards or you're teaching anything that's useful. It's just, it's $9,000. That's kind of it. And as a result, our system is pretty shit. Not as shit in the same ways as yours is, but still pretty shit.
I want to point out, apparently I was wrong on the differentiation between college and university. Apparently one of the things is that it has to have postgraduate degrees. So for it to be university. So I will own that. I did not know that. So
you big idiot. Jeez.
I mean, I went to a university. I didn't realize why it was called a university. And
I went to university on a free ride and dropped out. So
tax dollars at work.
Yeah.
I got a fucking trade school degree, so I'm like bottom of the barrel here.
I dropped out of
ended
2
up
master's
getting
degrees, so I'm actually like practically speaking no better.
There is not a person I know in a master's degree that doesn't hate the fact that they're in a master's degree.
That's kind of why I didn't do it.
Yeah. And it doesn't really have any benefit other than you get to be like, I have a master's. You don't learn anything good. Like it's
No,
it's
you
not
really
like
don't.
the
It was
the
basically a
level of-
reintroduction to stuff that I did in my first year of undergrad. It was great. So it was really easy. And that meant it was really boring. But it's very useful because when you go to job interviews, even if you haven't got it, you can say, I studied for a master's. And they think, well, you've got a master's then, so we're going to hire you. That's how I got my last job.
Yes, sometimes all you have to say is actually that you were accepted into the master's program, and that will work, even if you never did a damn thing with it.
Does the accent come with the masters? Is that how you got it?
No, the accent predates the masters. I think the accent has more to do with the job offer than the masters did. But yeah.
See, what I did was I went to college, dropped out after a year, and then question mark for 15 years, YouTuber.
Nice.
That was my, that's how I went.
My favorite was like, I pretty much was on tour nonstop from like 18 to like 28. And every time you go to get a job, they're like, you haven't been employed in 4 years. What were you doing? I was living in a van, sir.
Down by the river? Please tell me it was out by a river. Please tell me it was down by a river.
We slept by multiple rivers, you know?
I have a feeling saying I was on tour is probably a better sales pitch than saying I was living in a van. Just
yeah, you could have.
Are we all giving our like history here? Since we're Andrew.
But it's that, or we carry on talking about Willy Wonka.
Oh, fucking Timothy Chalamet.
I mean, mine was I went to school and I never used my degree. I got into a profession that I never had any business getting into, and along the way, I fought a bunch of people, and I also make money doing that. So
I've heard this story minus the fighting a billion times. Basically, the American story. I wasted a bunch of money going to school. I don't use the degree. I get a job.
I didn't waste any of my money. It was grants and scholarships, so it was other people's money.
I finished the degree at least. I can see Andrew's heart breaking right now.
He's like,
oh, everybody in the chat's like, I wasted my fucking money.
Yeah, Andrew, you're gonna be a movie maker. You're gonna be a filmmaker.
A movie maker.
A movie maker.
Are you gonna make the talkies?
Then I dropped out. Last second. I was like, because while we were doing like an orientation thing, they said they told us the parking. Yes, that is true. They told us
you dropped out because of parking. Please tell me this is
the parking gave me anxiety.
Yes. No, the parking fee was $250 per quarter. Not even semester,
bro.
Quarter. So I said, I just said no. I just dropped out that moment. I was like, I'm not doing that.
My university was $1,200 a semester for a non-guaranteed parking spot.
I love this. So like,
come get it.
Yeah.
No, back.
I'm not doing the parking thing.
Back over here real quick. He was just like, that was like the first roadblock. Literally, like, you're gonna have to pay for parking. He was like,
after a fashion, having to pay for parking is technically a kind of roadblock. So
it's quite literally a road.
I have a funny story about that. But this was the last straw. I was like, I'm not paying that much for parking.
I was in a class. It was an online course, only online course I ever took, and I had to go meet the professor.
Most sane Andrew take. Shut up!
I had to go meet the professor in.
I am surprised I'm invited back.
In
Chat
person.
hates me.
And I could not find parking for the life of me, except for this one spot where there was a broken meter, and there was a cop right next to it, and I was like, "Hey, if I park here and it's a broken meter, am I still going to get a ticket?" He's like, "I'm not going to do it, but I can't guarantee you nobody else is going to do it." So I just never met that professor and dropped out of that class. So I can understand where you're coming from.
It's just such a weird thing that the one thing any person who goes to any university anywhere in London will say is, "No, I don't drive. I'm in London." So parking is not an issue.
You have functioning public transit in your country.
Well, functioning is stretching the definition of it.
Country.
That's better than North Korea, right?
I think the North Koreans have much more reliable trains than London does.
That's crazy to say.
It's better than rolling around on a fucking pile of shit, right? What?
No, my uni was in Kensington, and that's on the Circle Line, which is reliably unreliable anyway. But it was on the the weird bit of the Circle Line that only really is active when there's some kind of event on at the Kensington Olympia, which means that most of the time it just didn't exist. So night buses are interesting. You get a really good cross section of London's drug addicts on night buses. It's a great fun experience.
I got stuck on the Weinstein Company Is that what I think it is?
It's
I
that
think
Weinstein
so.
company.
Is it that one?
Yes.
Yeah, Nerdy Film
That's
Girl. The biggest
crazy.
scam is interning for college credit. I did it at the Weinstein Company and just did the work for my boss and didn't have time for, which was reading scripts all day. I could have done that at home. Crazy.
Interesting.
I
Ooh.
interned for.
Tell me more.
I interned for a assembly office, and literally, I thought I was going to be doing like cool shit, and all I did, they gave me a bunch of templates for form letters, and every time I would read emails that came in that were complaints about like the town or the if they were older people, it was usually like handwritten letters. And it was my job to put their name in the form letter and send it back to them. And I never met the assembly person that I worked for the entire year I worked there. And so somewhere out there's a lot of and toward the end, I started fucking with the form letters. I started sending the wrong ones. And then at certain points I would just send ones with like, it would just say like because it would say like insert name. I would just send it as is. I would just put their name on the envelope and be like, here you go. That's why people know that this is the bullshit that's going on here. So, suffice to say, I never worked in government again.
Good thing.
I interned my first day interning. I had to go cover a triple homicide that had 2 kids involved. And
What?
Then, yeah, it was my first day.
Andrew's face when he came back.
That was a great return.
Yo, they sent me to knock on case. So it was like a guy that like, I don't want to get you demonetized, but it was a guy that did.
We're long past that, buddy. Don't worry.
And they sent me to go knock on his parents' door to be like, get an interview and ask how they feel about their son killing kids.
Oh my god!
What?
Was this a journalism internship?
Yeah. I
think that's a really great demonstration of the difference between our two countries. Because my first day as a journalist intern, I was told to phone there's like a hotline for the police where they recount the stories from the previous night in your local area. So I phoned that, and I was told that the fire brigade had been summoned out. They'd rescued a puppy and a woodpecker from a house fire. And
Woodpecker. Who the hell has a woodpecker in their house?
Got him, boys.
And then some guy rammed his van into a lamppost and then came up to try and sell me the story. So that was my first day as a journalist. The council is really irresponsible. They put this lamppost here. Look how much damage it did to the van that I drove into it.
I love that the English call it the fire brigade. I love that. I don't know why.
The fire brigade.
Fire brigade. It just sounds so much more official than the fire department.
We also call our police the police service, whereas you call yours pigs. So
Amen, brother.
We call ours defunded, apparently, in certain sections of the country. So, but yeah. This is how interesting Willy Wonka is.
Yeah, movies. Our movies great fun. That's what we've been talking about for the last
time. It was how does he keep getting work, and then we just kind of went into like our shitty pasts of work.
Yeah, how do we get work?
We don't. I have a job. I just won't tell you where it's at.
That's a good idea. Someone will.
I will say this. Everybody in chat, you have been at an event that my job has dealt with. That's the most you'll get out of me. If you've been at you
work for a catering company.
No. I work at, you know what I do.
I don't go to events, so I have no idea.
No, so like you've been to a concert, a convention, anything like that, you know, even like a conference or something. I guarantee you my company has had hands in it.
This is true.
Fuzz.
Only if they're hot. Only if they're hot.
What other topics did we have today?
Speaking of conventions, you told me San Diego Comic-Con.
Does anyone give a shit?
Clearly
that was kind of the story, wasn't it? There's no one is telling.
The only thing I'm interested in is like there's an Alex Ross
cover
thing going on there. He's like doing an interview. That's the only thing that interests me. But I'm
Doesn't
not
he
going.
do one like every year though? So like it's not.
Yeah.
So like it's not really that impressive if it's something they do every year.
Yeah, but there's
the
nothing,
biggest
right?
thing. Yeah, the biggest thing about San Diego Comic-Con is that first of all, even if studios were there, the actors couldn't even show up anyway.
Yep. Yeah, they can't do press junkets. So
is that why you think most of these studios didn't plan on showing up anyway?
Yep,
probably
because they knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably. I assume they're kind of smart, They're probably thinking ahead.
I mean, technically, I guess the producers and stuff still could do if they want to do the announcements. They just wouldn't be able to have the actors there. But I mean, it's weird because San Diego Comic-Con and by extension New York Comic-Con have become they're just so far from like what they used to be that like I think
Like
it was
VidCon.
so it's like they just I hate the fact they're called Comic-Con. They barely have anything to do with comics anymore.
Yeah, it's nothing to. The only thing that was connected to
just
comics
movies.
was the fact that superhero movies were there.
And so basically at this point, like a lot of those big things that are getting kind of blocked anyway because Marvel's not showing up. Most people can't physically get into those anyway. So like it probably won't affect them as much as people are thinking.
Yeah, the only person that I remember there being a panel for was Eric July, like someone's mentioned earlier. That's the only panel that I know of there.
This is the YouTubers moment.
Yeah, I think Friday Night Tights are going, and they will probably have the biggest audience there because no one else is going. I was just looking through the list of people who are not turning up. So nothing related to Disney is going. So Disney itself isn't going. Yeah. Marvel won't be there. Lucasfilm won't be there. HBO isn't going to be there either. Universal isn't going to be there. Warner Brothers probably isn't going to be there, but they haven't confirmed that yet. Paramount might be there only for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Paramount Plus probably won't be. NBC potentially, but again, maybe not. Amazon slightly there, but not hugely.
Maybe for Invincible season 2, it's the only thing that I can think of that they have coming up.
I mean, part of it is just like if you look at the list of things they might even potentially be marketing while they're there. I mean, Warner Brothers, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman.
I can't wait for that to bomb.
Massive interest in that. Amazon, Wheel of Time season 2.
I think
no.
Yeah, they might
Blue
have
Beetle
Rings
will
of Power
bomb so
footage.
hard that people won't even watch videos about Blue Beetle. I think that's how little people will give a shit about it.
The Flash had a similar experience with that. The Flash just didn't have very much interest, even in people shitting on it, in my experience. Yeah. And then for Disney stuff, like the Marvels, Loki season 2, Ahsoka, Haunted Mansion. Don't even know what that is, but
I actually saw a trailer for Haunted Mansion, and it looks horrible. And
it looks really bad.
Man,
Ahsoka looks better,
so bad,
which
that's surprising.
Ahsoka looks fine. It's just a matter of what it's going to be. It looks okay. Like Ahsoka. It's like physically the visuals are fine. It's like,
which is surprising because a lot of these fucking Star Wars shows, you're like, damn, you guys really just put a fucking desert on that volume and just.
I have a feeling that that's because of the fact that this character is Filoni's baby. Like,
yes,
he invented her. He's brought her through all of it. If anything, they might have been shaving off funding from the other shows to get it into this show.
Yeah, he actually gives a shit about this one, unlike all of the other ones that have been terrible.
It still looks bad, and I'm still mad that he saved Ahsoka via time travel. If you ever saw that episode of Red Bulls,
holy shit, he did! I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, time travel.
They had this perfect scene for Ahsoka to die at the hands of Darth Vader. I'm like, ooh, this is actually some good content in this show. And then you have like the Ezra kid making jokes, but whatever. Like, this is a good death for her. And then the final episode, no, she's saved with time travel.
You might as well just have Dave Filoni's head appearing like the god in Monty Python and the Holy Grail with his stupid cowboy hat saying, "No, I might need you for later," and he just plucks her out of the script and he's safe now.
I'm flirting my eyes so hard.
Like as much as I like enjoyed her scene, like her episode in Mando season 2, like she should not be here. Like there's no reason for her to be here.
I'll watch Rosario Dawson do anything.
I sat right near Rosario Dawson at a wrestling show once because they were like promoting her like TV show where it's like it's kind of like a knockoff like America's Got Talent. And she was like, she was like 3 seats from me, and I was like, "What the fuck is she doing here?" And then I realized quickly because I got upgraded to like floor seats, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm in that area. Okay, I didn't realize that they needed a seat filler. I didn't realize."
She could literally pluck my hairs out one by one, and I'd say thank you every time.
She is really hot, and like she actually like in person, like she was pretty hot. So, Actually, I just want to point out that might have been the most universally accepted Andrew take of all time in the about the.
Wait, do people
the
like me now? Let's go,
Yes.
Andrew W. Finally, let's go, boys.
I was just seeing like that was like universally accepted there. But yeah,
Let's go, boys. I'm winning. Chat
back
likes me
to,
now.
Back to San Diego Comic-Con. A lot of those big like things, like the huge announcements, that it's like really expensive tickets that are bought way ahead of time.
Mhm.
So I don't think that that's really going to affect the convention as much as you would think, because people who don't want to spend a shit ton can't even get into them anyway. So it's
well,
like,
I
and it's
mean, do they not have overflow though? For example, so like
I haven't been to
will...
San Diego Comic-Con. I've been to New York Comic-Con. They do have
Mhm.
overflow, but a lot of times a big chunk of it is press.
And I guess on top of overflow, which I imagine will bring in a fair chunk of money, even if they're cheaper tickets than the pre-bought ones. You've also got all the merch stuff, which is not going to be sold. So that's not just the big studios themselves, but that's the smaller creators or like actors who are doing the circuit. Like all those people who would normally rely on a bit of a bump to reputation, if not to money from these things, will not be paid as a result of that. You might be right about the studios not suffering particularly, and the convention itself not suffering particularly. And then I wonder whether or not we might see something like what's happened with E3, when the companies have basically concluded it's not really worth the time. Like, we're not getting as much out of this as we can do if we just put our own events on later.
That was actually going to be my next point. I was about to say I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if, like, because I know Disney already has theirs. They're like, which so to
D23.
them it's like, so they're probably is actually more of a burden to them that if anything.
When they've been the past few years, Disney's been saving most of their big announcements for their own convention anyways.
Yeah,
which you'd expect. I mean, it makes sense for them to do that, but then you kind of have to wonder whether the era of these big Comic-Cons is kind of coming to an end now, because everyone has realized that it's much more profitable to sort of balkanize and do their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, even some of them could like Disney, obviously up until probably, I don't know how they're funding it anymore, but they always had the money to do that. Some of the smaller, quote unquote, smaller studios could always do like combo ones, like these two studios are doing it together. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the rate it goes, because that was essentially, like you said, the death of E3. It was that there was no reason for Sony to show up. They can have their own thing. So it was like, why bother?
EA has their own thing.
I mean,
EA has their own thing. It's like
Xbox
I would
does its own
agree.
thing now, I guess.
Nintendo has their own thing.
Yeah, they've been their own thing.
Yeah.
There was Montreal Comic-Con was this past weekend,
Yeah.
which is where I'm from, and I think it was 60,000 people. It was like the most they've ever had in attendance, which is like I would assume that these comic expos are like kind of dying, but
So
I feel like for like nerd culture and people, like the most famous person there to do a panel was Christina Ricci, which is like.
So here's the thing.
I'll go
That was
see her,
probably on the so there's technically two different Comic-Con circuits. There's the one that is San Diego and New York. They're connected. They're the big, huge events on the coasts. Then there's the Wizard World Comic-Con convention circuit, which is probably the one that had that generally gets smaller celebrities, smaller scale, a little cheaper, easier to get into. And then you progressively go down the pyramid of now you have more local ones.
I wonder if they'll just turn into smaller ones though. Like if they don't fully die out, if it'll just be like, come see Henry Cavill and Andrew Garfield and get some pics.
Well, I mean, the smaller ones are actually more often than not more fun. I went to the New Jersey one recently. It's called Garden State Comic Fest. They had like half of the cast of Justice League there, which I'd much rather, and the cartoon, I'd much rather meet them. Like they were more of a part of my. Well, they were more of a part of my childhood and like my and like I grew up with them as the voice actors for a cartoon I watched almost every episode of. Or I probably did, and so that was pretty cool, and it didn't cost me thousands of dollars to do.
I feel like the big draw, at least for me, when I used to go, I haven't been in a few years, but it was just like it's kind of nice to go be around a bunch of fucking nerds and not feel weird, which it seems kind of like silly reason to spend like $150 on a ticket, but it's cool to go out and be like, oh, I'm not alone. Sweet.
I'm reading this chat. That's
why I was reading the chat too. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can't see my face.
That's how I felt. Because I was in robotics when I was in high school. So that's how I felt when I went to robotics competitions. Because that's pretty much just a nerd convention. Just, hey, look, My robot. Can
Have
do this
I
thing,
have I
and then-
finally found the only other person likely to be involved in one of these streams who likes BattleBots?
Mine is not as. I do like BattleBots, but
Good.
the robotics comps that I was in were not BattleBots. But yes, I do like BattleBots, and it just felt like, yeah, this is cheesy, and we're all nerds, but like, we're all just nerds. We're just vibing, and then like, oh man, the last year that I was in robotics was it was Star Wars themed.
Ooh, that's fucking cool.
So people would make their robot look like droids, and like put
Ooh.
stickers on them and stuff. People would like go out into the field, like the human drivers would go out into the field looking like stormtroopers. It was cool.
It
I
wasn't.
just had
wasn't
I had
the
a
long boxes.
lightsaber on me.
I
was
didn't dive into the long boxes, but I did have this sketched for me. This was sketched by Walt
Oh.
Simonson.
Oh, that's
So-
cool. So
yeah. So like you can get really cool things done. Support your local smaller conventions, people. Like I mean it. Like this was free. He did this for free.
That's
like,
dope.
Technically, so it's suggested donations. I gave him money to his cause. I didn't technically have to. So
There's
but you can get some really cool like things done at these kind of conventions.
there's a convention in Montreal that's like separate from the Comic-Con here, and it's like a literal like comic con where they shut down like a whole street, and it's like independent comic creators that have like a whole street for a weekend.
You
It's
should
pretty-
check it. I
pretty-
guarantee
it's
you,
huge.
you'll have a better time at that than you will at a big.
You're gonna hate me for this dark hour, but I can see the 4 comic books I own right now.
It's fine. I mean, I
Four?
don't hate you for that. I just think that you didn't live a life at that point.
You're not cultured. That's what he's saying.
You're not cultured. I don't know.
I'm really big on
How can you
young
know about
adult
what life is
fantasy.
if you didn't spend your entire childhood pretending that this was reality? You know.
You think that's bad? I can see the 0 comic books I own, and
This is
probably also have
God.
read. So
Why you're so good at writing?
It's probably
I
gonna
guess.
make everybody fucking like because it's gonna go away from my. But like, just look.
Oh
at
my god!
Oh, shit.
It's probably gonna make
have-
everybody like vertigo out. 'cause
This
of that.
desk here is all of my.
That was
comics.
just one of like a bunch. That was just one shelf. Yeah.
I have this
Cynic's
one.
just
and then I
got a
have this
bookshelf
cool
of his own
Guardians
comic
one,
book.
and then I have 4. I have 3 Spider-Man comics over there, or
Let's see.
omnibuses, and then I have 3 Star Wars omnibuses.
this
2
has just
I'm
evolved
using
into the
as a
most
stand.
nerdy dick measuring contest of all time.
So
Fantastic.
this is signed by both Peter David.
Oh!
and, Leonardi.
That's cool.
Hold on, I can do this all day, and then now I get sawed in half.
I understood that reference.
Oh man!
let's see.
All right, let me try to find the coolest thing I own.
I got you all beat. I'll give you.
Well, you have your own comic, so
Well, not just that. I've whipped your ass on something else. I'll show you. Hang on. If we're doing this,
I
I'm
I'd
gonna fucking
have
go
to
in.
dig out.
I've
I've
a-
commandeered this. Okay.
I have a copy of Death of Superman from 1993 that was my dad's when he grew up.
I have that same
at
copy.
this.
Well, not that specific one, but I have the
It's
original
like
one, the black
aged
bag.
in
I
yellow.
removed it. It's been sketched on by Dan Jurgens. Bring it on. So-
I also have Shogun, the Shogun Warriors series with that Japanese studio.
what do I
That
randomly
collabed with
have
Marvel
sitting
back
here
in the
on my
day?
pile? This might
So,
might
like-
phase out a little bit, but that's the
Oh,
first
whoa.
appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet, just chilling out on my Let's see, I have
What? Where is he? What computer is that? Who is this?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Also signed by Walt Simonson, first Beta Ray Bill.
He's busting out the iPad. This means business.
I mean, this is just stuff that I have sitting around randomly.
It's funny because with your green screen, it just looks like you're plucking things out of like couch cushions. You're like,
I-
oh, look at this.
I practically am.
That's your superpower. You could just summon comics into existence from the ether.
Ah, look at this. This is what that's based on.
Oh,
boy.
let's
Oh my
go.
goodness.
Look at this. Oh, shit.
Oh,
I mean,
look at him
yeah,
with his
like-
fancy
like-
So
action
these are
figures.
statues, and they are quarter scale.
Damn.
Ah.
You know, you're real hardcore when you don't even show those on your camera like every other fucking YouTuber.
I don't even
Like,
show
goddamn
my
everything.
existence.
Hang on, let me get the Stone Cold Steve Austin one going.
Are they quarter scale or are they just
wait.
the dwarfs from the Snow White?
No, they're
pictures?
real deal.
Yes.
I shrunk them down myself.
Don't you have the shirt that's like Austin
Jesus
365 or
Christ.
something?
316. Oh my
316,
god.
Yeah.
How can
316, yeah. Or you have the shirt of that. Yeah.
God damn it, Andrew.
Ah.
Just be cultured for like a day.
What? I don't watch WWE. I'm sorry.
It's a
Neither do
reference to
I.
the
You're in
Bible.
good company.
Every time Cynic sends
Yeah, I
me
know
those
it's a
fucking wrestling clips to put into his videos, I'm like, he was like, yeah, put Mickey Mouse on this dude's head, and I had to like look up which one was which. I'm like, oh fuck.
Is Mickey Mouse one of the wrestlers? Is it...
No, I'm really glad that
Is
you
he
don't
the
even bother to
umpire?
ask. You
This is
take it
gonna be hard
upon
to get,
yourself
but
to find out who Stone Cold Steve
Omega
Austin is.
Red.
Isn't the guy
He's
who
got a
runs
creative
WWE like Vince McMouse or something? Like, I think that sounds right.
Vince McMouse.
Vince McMouse.
Yeah, this
He's
is
a
this is
billionaire.
the
Respect
first
him.
Omega Red signed by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. But Jim Lee was the big draw that day.
I just want a live action Gambit so bad. Cynic shit cam. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have. This
The
is me
iPhone,
like making up
yes.
for weeks and weeks of not being on and showing off random comics that I'm sitting amongst. So like I just assumed I pulled them out of my butt. I might be able to.
Ah. He ate them.
So, any other shit to talk about?
No.
There was
we
Yeah, if the
definitely
last half
moved
hour has
right
been
the
any
fuck
guide
on.
at all, I think we've run out of stuff to talk about.
I
So
think we might have.
There was that
Um,
the DC announcement for the other characters in Superman, but that's just kind of there.
there
That
was.
wasn't even.
I didn't even
Yeah.
see that. So
Yeah,
I have nothing.
Nathan
I have nothing
Fillion.
to say about that.
Yeah,
They
I
got
didn't see that at all.
Nathan.
Oh,
Nathan
Green
Fillion
Lantern.
playing
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Green
did see
Lantern,
that. Yeah.
And then you have someone playing Mr. Terrific. Is that his
It's
name?
the guy who played Darwin from X-Men First Class is playing Mr. Terrific.
Ah.
And
Um,
Nathan Fillion is playing the wrong Green Lantern.
Yeah, he's playing the ginger guy, right?
He's playing Guy Gardner, and it makes no fucking
Yes.
sense.
Nope, it don't. And then they casted Hawkgirl again.
I don't know who that actress is, though. I don't know what she's from.
She played Dora the Explorer from the live action Dora the Explorer movie.
Okay, that pretty much gives her the proper amount of required acting experience. For...
Yes. DC Superman.
But yeah,
What's it called again? Legacy.
That's all I have to say is that he's playing the wrong Green Lantern.
Yeah, it is weird. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I honestly think they're gonna kill him off immediately. Just because it's so weird. They'll probably kill off Mr. T too.
Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
Mr. T. They're gonna kill off Mr. T.
What? He has a giant T on his face. I'm not.
Mr.
I
T is
can't
like an
not call him
actual
Mr.
person,
T.
though.
And
Yeah, but
that's
this is
like
now
10 years
Mr.
before Andrew was even a sperm. All right.
Yeah. Calm down, all right? I'm learning here.
Mr.
Somebody asked if I'd read the War of Jokes and Riddles. Not only have I read it, I met Tom King and talked to him about it. So,
What? What did he have to say? I apologize.
actually, so Tom King's actually kind of difficult to get anything out of because he's too busy drawing terrible sketches. So he has
Really?
like a whole gag because he's not really an illustrator.
Yeah, I know.
And if you bring up a thing, he will draw a terrible sketch for you. So while I was talking to him about it, he was drawing a sketch of Swamp Thing returning a book to the library, and the librarian was Supergirl. It was like the weirdest sketch I've ever heard in my life. Because what he'll do is he just asks like random questions and doesn't ask you what you want sketched. The girl who was getting it was like, well, what's your profession? She was like, I'm a librarian. She's like, well, what's your favorite hero? And she's like, well, my husband's favorite hero is she was like, mine's Supergirl and my husband's is Swamp Thing. So he just drew Swamp Thing with a late returned book to Supergirl the librarian. I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen someone do.
Her daytime job.
Yeah.
Well,
On that note, shall we wrap up with the super chats and head off? I've got many hours of editing left in front of me today. So
I need to grab something to eat before bag.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Let's see. There are only a handful today, so
Yeah,
let's
this
do this.
actually-
I'm not going to read any of them.
Oh. Okay.
Who's taking it?
I'm not reading it either.
It's Victor
I'm
won
unionizing.
for
I'm on strike.
50
It's a writer's strike.
SEK.
50
Is
What
that
is it?
Serbian?
Sweet. That's not
I think
Victor won.
Swedish kroner, I think.
Is that Swedish kroner?
I'd
Alright.
guess.
Sexes.
There seems to be an argument that writers are not to be blamed because they are only writing what the supervisors tell them to, which sounds like BS.
Well,
I think it depends what studio you're writing for.
Yeah, it all depends. It's
blame goes around, I think, for sure.
I mean, you really think that there's a bunch of people in Marvel out there that have free reign over what they're writing? I don't think that at all. It's probably why it's gotten shittier and shittier, because they're just writing themselves into more and more corners.
Yeah.
I mean, they still wrote it.
Sorry,
I mean-
I completely like blank, like zoned out on that question. I'm sorry. I'll have to read it.
Well,
again.
it's basically like there's some culpability there as a writer. If you wrote it, like, I'm not just going to be like, well, you know.
Here's
someone-
the thing. Here's the thing, Cynic. If you paid me $10 an hour to do your videos, they would not look like they look. I'm just saying. I would do them, but I'm not putting my best work in because,
Oh no,
credit.
but I'm also not going to be like, well, this also is just a fantastic. I'm not going to lie and say it's good work either.
True,
like,
true,
I was
true.
just like, yeah, I got what I paid for, but it's not
Yeah.
like fucking good work.
Are you very cannily trying to start a price war? Because like Cynic pays you whatever, and then you can say, well, I've done this, but I'll do better for you if you pay me
$10 an hour,
more.
I've heard.
The more you pay me, the better it gets. And I feel like that's this seems really dumb, and I don't want to go up on this tangent, but it's kind of my argument for why the writer's strike is like necessary and good. Because there's that chart that came out that says they get paid a lot, but most of them do not get paid that much. And it's kind of just human nature. Is like, if someone's paying you fucking shit to do a job that like you don't really have a lot of freedom on, you're like, okay, I'll just do this then. It's like, yeah, you get what you pay for. And like, no one
Yeah,
should be
that's-
surprised.
Right. Yeah. No, that's why I was saying there's, blame to go around. I'm not going to sit here and say that, the studios have no responsibility for why these movies suck. It's all the writer's fault.
Yeah.
But also, you still wrote it. Your name's on it. So I'm not going to be like, well, it's not
Yeah.
his fault. It sucks. Like, yeah, it is.
And
Actually,
also
it's partially your fault.
It's the James
Residuals.
Mangold thing with Indiana Jones 5. So James Mangold has come out and said that it's divisive fans who are to blame for the fact that Indy 5 has not succeeded. And the response to that is, well, no, it fucking
Yeah, it's
isn't.
our fault,
because
boys. We did this.
we have no choice as to what is put on the screens in front of us. We can only either decide to see or not to see, but you're the one who made it. Then the argument goes, well, he's working under Kathleen Kennedy and she interferes a lot, so is it really his fault? And my answer to that is possibly not. Maybe she did make loads of changes. Maybe it was a really, really difficult thing to do, but you are still making the choice to come out and defend it by attacking other people for the job that you are saying was good. So like, I'm happy for you if if you come out and say, Tom Holland did this with his most recent series. He said, look, I know the reviews are bad, but I'm here defending it because I think it's good. And, I have a thick skin. I think that's a good response. But if you're going to say, I think what I did was good, and the only reason you don't think that is because you're divisive, that's when I lose all sympathy. But I can well believe there was interference that made it shit. But then either you tone down your praise of your own work, or you quit the job, or you just own up to the fact that it wasn't as good as it could be. But there's nothing really much besides that you can do.
You sounding like a big old racist to me right now.
I mean, do I ever not?
I think.
Yeah. Also,
Oh, go ahead.
you go ahead. The residuals conversation is interesting because like
Mhm.
you have these giant shows like one of the writers for Orange is the New Black, which was one of Netflix's biggest shows, came out and said that their residuals were only like $200, $300 around, not the much. But then that also begs the question, like, how do residuals work for streaming services?
They just don't.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to pay more upfront for writers in streaming services.
It's one of the reasons they are lobbying at the moment to get a share of revenue rather than residual, because they Well,
Yeah.
streaming services don't make that much in terms of residuals anyway, so there's not a
Yeah.
huge amount of profit to be creamed off the top.
Whereas if you're a writer for like a show like Friends or like Big Bang Theory, where those shows are broadcasted on television like 24/7, yeah, you're going to get a lot more residuals from that because there's ads running on those 24/7 as well, and those
Also,
ads
there's also
are competitively
contracts
priced.
for there's also contracts for syndication as well.
Well, and they're arguing that like if you listen to Sean Gunn did a good take the other day, did a good interview. He was talking about how when Gilmore Girls switched to Netflix, I think it was like one of their most popular shows for a really long time. He's in like over 100 episodes of that show, and he got like 0 residuals off Netflix. So like they had a residuals deal for it to be on air, but once Netflix got the rights to like have it and stream it, it's where most of the audience goes, and they're like, oh, oopsie, no more residuals because that wasn't a part of your original contract.
See, I'm not generally in favor. I can't think of very many justifiable causes in the writer's strike. I think the actors one is slightly more interesting because of the conversation over image rights, for example, and AI replication. I think that needs to be solved. Whether or not an ad hoc strike is the way to do that is open to question. The writers generally I don't have a huge amount of sympathy with, except insofar as they might be useful, because let's say they get their way and they are able to cream off a share of revenue rather than profit. That will just hasten the demise of streaming services because it just furthers an uneconomic proposition and makes it even less affordable to the company. And so in the long run, it might have some kind of positive effect, but it doesn't mean I think that the principle of demanding revenue over residuals is right. It just means that you're locked at the moment into a privileged job, let's be quite clear, but one which is taking a direction which is not as profitable to you as you might like it to be. And I don't think that really exploiting a company which is already losing money is in the long run for the best. Then you combine that with the fact they want minimum writing team sizes, minimum staffing requirements. The whole package of demands they make is pretty much unjustifiable in my mind, but it might still do some good if accidentally.
I think it's like any union fight though. Like they're probably asking for more than they need, you know, like you push further so you can pull back and end up somewhere that's reasonable.
Like the 5 demanded writers on every writing team, I'm like, that shouldn't be a thing. Like people should be able to.
It will price younger, newer, more interesting writers out of the market as well if you do that. As soon as you say we're going to have a minimum requirement for staffing, being paid a minimum amount plus a share of revenue rather than profit, what you're saying to the company is you have to hire a certain number of people and you have to pay them whatever profit you make or not. Are you going to take the risk of hiring new people with new ideas, or are you going to take the less risky approach of just going with people you already know? It's the same argument that comes along whenever there's like an argument over minimum wage rises. They are very good for people in work. They are terrible for people not currently in work. They price the younger generation, less educated and qualified people out of the market. The same thing will happen if the writers get their way. I don't think that having an ossified writing pool is the answer to the problems we currently face. So that's another reason I don't particularly like what the writers are demanding.
True. I think you kind of end up with that either way, though. Like both sides are pretty much arguing for the fact that we'll end up with the same writers in, like, you know what I mean? Like either they get their way and we end up with a bunch of codified writers' rooms that never change, or they don't get their way and we end up with a bunch of codified writers' rooms that never change. It's like they're both kind of arguing for the same thing, just in different parameters.
Or they get their way, they bankrupt several companies and new companies emerge which hire new people, and in the long run, it's better. So maybe I do support the strikes after all. Who knows?
I'll take this one. Same person, same amount. Are Disney losing money over the Star Wars license, considering most of the income comes from toys and merchandise sales and not the movies?
After that hotel collapsed, yeah, I think so.
I would say so. I actually was doing. I've started doing a like a deep dive study on how much they've made versus how much they spent on the license, and like basically taking it and adjusting for inflation as I go along as best I can. Obviously, the numbers are not going to be perfect. Yeah, I don't think they have really made much money off of the license because a lot of those toys just like. Most of them just sit on bargain bin shelves.
Well, I think it's hard to
just Googled it. Yeah. It's in there's a 2019 article, and it says that they make about $2 to $3 billion per year off of toys from Star Wars. It was a few years old. There's only a couple articles I can find so far. One is 2015 and one's 2020.
Yeah, Andrew's proof. He's got like fucking 4, what is it, R3s or whatever.
At BB-8s.
BB-8s, R3s.
Listen,
So
I have not bought any of these. The only one that I bought was the Lego one.
Yeah, okay, bro. Okay.
How much have they spent in total on the production of all the shit they've pumped out since they bought it? And they spent
buying
$4
the
billion
studio itself was 4.5 billion, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just to buy the
That is
studio.
a
That's
steal.
not counting
pretty
for.
dope.
Well, it's a steal. It was a steal up until the point when the film stopped making money and the toys stopped bringing in revenue. So I would be willing to bet that 70-80% of the merch sales are from stuff from before the Disney era. So like toys from the originals. And
one article
prequels.
I found was saying that like interest in toys from the Star Wars sequels is like null and void.
Oh, yeah.
It's all stuff from the past.
And you got to account for
and Grogu.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, Andrew probably owns about 77% of all the BB-8 toys sold.
Okay, I am not. This was also a gift, to be clear. Someone was like,
"Oh, I'm gonna take the onus. I'm gonna take the onus off of Andrew here. It's probably gonna blend in with my background, but
there he is.
Yeah, there you go.
To be fair, look, he's really cute. It's fine.
I may have Grogu socks. I'm not actually sure.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that one's actually pretty cool because it like depending on how many times you pat it on the head, it does like a lot of different motions. It's not as cool as the one you can get from Disney where it like follows you around because you're wearing like a there's one that actually, and apparently it's really expensive, but you can wear a bracelet that basically it will walk behind you as you wear it. It's weird. I don't know. It's really expensive though, which is one of the reasons probably why I don't think that they make a lot of money on their merch as much as they're saying.
They would. I mean, this is the thing with the Galactic Star Cruiser. So they overestimated wildly the amount of people willing to pay like $6,000 to go for a weekend with their kids on a Star Wars cruiser. Now, if we're talking about Star Wars at the popularity of the OT or even the prequel trilogy, I think that hotel would probably have stayed afloat, if not actually made quite a lot of money. But there's no hard divide between films and merch. The films have to be good to make people want to buy the merch. The sequel trilogy is shit. No one cares. No one pays for the merch. And so your major revenue source just dries up because who the hell is buying Rose Tico dolls?
Correct.
Literally no one.
I do think they definitely probably, like, you can see this in like their Lego stuff because I like Lego a lot. And I look at their catalog sometimes for like their Star Wars stuff.
So
and
like Lego version of Across the Spider-Verse is like all your orgasms come at once.
Yes.
Jesus.
Most of their Lego sets now are based on OT and prequel stuff.
They finally had to embrace that. That's what people like.
Like I went to the store the other day. I just looked through the Lego aisle, just a quick peek. All prequel stuff, all prequel and OT stuff. I didn't see a single. I saw one. Because it's not like out yet. It was just.
Well, there's still going to be merch for the whatever hasn't still coming out, but
there is a set for the Ahsoka show that looks really good. But
my favorite part is that it says Boba Fett's ship. Not Slave One on all of them. I love that.
Boba Fett ship, guys. Boba Fett ship.
The word slave is offensive. All right, I'll take this one.
Okay. You
said you didn't want to read none.
I know. That's why
Milo
okay.
for €6. That's euros, right? That's what that is.
Cents.
Compare and contrast Snow White and the Seven Dwarves and Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs.
I don't even know what we're supposed to say to that.
Sure.
I think that they are the same film, I think, is the answer.
I think that is the answer, yes.
And die Sieben Dwarfs?
The Gourd King for $2, because I can read that one. Barbie plus Oppenheimer equals Atomic Blonde. Nice.
Can't argue.
Both those movies will be better than Atomic Blonde. I'm calling it now. Movies
Cinema 10 out of 10 both.
It is the thing, I always have to bring this up, but we were talking about whether or not the film will succeed in Japan, but so far Barbie has caused more controversy in East Asia than Oppenheimer has.
Yeah, the whole Vietnam thing. Right?
Yeah, long may that continue.
Yeah, based on a crayon drawing.
Well, I got it. Mr. Talk About It for $1.99.
I'm not reading shit. I'll read two in a row.
I'll read two.
This is one of the only streams in the world where the host will actively go out of his way not to read your super chats. So please send more of them.
Mr. Takabata says it's not good and it hurts because I love Fallout. I assume you're referring to Dead Reckoning.
Indeed.
Hmm?
And
I
true.
mean, it's not as good as Fallout. I mean, that's
No,
just,
it's not.
Fallout was really good.
If Tom Cruise runs, I'm fucking in. I could watch him.
He
run
runs
for
in this
2
one,
hours.
baby.
He runs like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, he runs. I would say he clears several miles in this movie.
Let's go.
He's
does have a good
incredibly
run.
quick. Didn't someone once estimate that at his top speed he could hit about 17 miles an hour?
That's
incredible
He's in really,
fast
I mean,
for a runner.
he's in really good shape. Like,
Yeah.
If you ever watch runners break down his form, like he actually has insanely good running.
Yeah,
form.
I saw
Hmm?
when
Yeah.
I was making
mean,
my review. I
fucking
found a
funny.
video talking about that.
And you can tell it makes watching him run for a long time across an interesting rooftop even more interesting because he looks like
yeah.
a really good runner.
Yeah,
he's a perfectionist even in
Fucking-
his running. That's all. I think that's what it is. Like, that's really what it is. It's just like
Flash.
he wants to make sure everything he does looks good, looks right, and he did it correctly. I
Yeah.
said in my review that the guy will literally learn how to do things that take people entire lifetimes in a few months just to do a small clip, like a 15-second spot.
Yeah.
It's something that people have worked their entire lives to be amazing at, and he's like, I'm gonna get that in 6 months. Like,
So if he learns how to write scripts, part 2 might actually be a good film.
I'm just saying, Scientology is looking real good. As he ages, I'm like, fuck. Maybe that's the shit.
I told
Xenu
you
is
he's-
doing something for you.
Xenu's
For real.
feeding him foreskins.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Julio Rangel?
I think he said it was from Brazil, so it would be Julio Rangel.
Oh, Julio. Oh, okay. For $2. The wait for the blue hair continues. The 100K stream, you might see something special.
Ooh,
Oh,
pink hair.
Yeah. I'm changing all of my photos, everything. to pink hair.
Pink.
I can't
It's
even
in celebration for Barbie.
I can't wear my green jiu-jitsu gi from my avatar, so I'll wear a blue one for you.
Just put a blue filter on your screen.
I forgot to ask. Is your profile picture? Are you wearing like the Vegeta vest?
That's
I
not
don't
that. No, so that's actually not. That somebody drew that for me. I am not that jacked. No.
Oh, not you. I'm talking Cynic because he
Oh.
looks like he's wearing Vegeta's getup from like Dragon Ball.
This is what the AI art produced for me, so I could be an astronaut. So I'm not sure.
An astronaut.
Yeah, I'm wearing astronaut gear.
I never
but-
got Vegeta vest off of that. I actually, to me, it actually looks more like Mandalorian armor.
I think Platoon
Yeah, I was
said
gonna say, it
the
looks like
Halo
Star
TV
Wars.
show.
Yikes.
Yes.
I look way better than the Halo TV show.
All right, moving on.
Calyx for $4.50. Stream for 1 more hour. We
You're gonna
can't.
have to. You're
I
gonna
have
have to
work to
spend
do.
a lot more than that to get me to stay on here for another hour.
And
Move
we have
that
another.
You don't
Decimal
even
point
get
off
any of the
two
money,
spots.
DarkHour.
Yes,
I
but
will.
I am still the record holder of 5 hours and 14 minutes and
Oh, yeah.
32
Oh yeah,
seconds, so.
yeah.
Again,
I
y'all
will-
have never twitched. 5 hours is fucking child's play,
It's
my
chump
friends.
change.
I was on EFAP for 8 hours on Saturday. Like, and
I
my first,
don't-
God.
my
I don't
first one
care.
was 12 hours. So yeah,
That's
5
good.
is nothing.
I would do it. I would do that. I've just never been invited on. So
Got to fat more.
This is crazy. Too long.
True.
Did someone else read? I did end up reading half of them.
Julia Rangel for $5. Gentlemen, since we know Disney and Lucasfilm are dead, I would like to remember better times and ask you what your favorite lightsaber battles are.
Oh, the one where Ewan McGregor and fucking whatever his name is.
Hayden
like
Christensen.
yeah, the third one where they're both just like,
Oh, they're doing an OVA.
oh yeah, they're just like, woo, yeah, let's fucking. And you could tell there's no choreo for that scene. They're just like, just go really.
well,
fast,
there is
guys.
choreography. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I didn't like the argument against the it makes no sense position is that these are two guys who've trained together since they were incredibly young and they know every single one of each other's moves, and so like the only way to try and beat the other person is to be even more like ballet
Just
than
be
the other
wild.
one. I think that fight does slightly transgress the sensible, shall we say? But
that is a
fucking
decent
fun.
like explanation as to why. Like if you have to really like be like, this is the reason, but
Yeah.
it really was just people enjoyed Darth Maul and his tricks because
it was new.
because it was new. So they just tried to keep upping the ante on that, and that's what they ended up with.
Wait, does
My
Vader in
favorite
Rogue One
battle.
count?
It's not
this
a
Vader in
lightsaber
what?
battle. That's
In
just
Rogue
a
One?
slaughter.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
slaughterhouse.
No,
Shit
I think
kicks,
lightsaber
though.
battle, in my opinion, requires
two?
So I
Two.
think no, I think you can also count any, like if you really wanted to, you can count the I forget the name of the sticks that the droids use that can block them as
Taser
well.
sticks.
Yeah, like the taser stick things. I forget the names of them.
My favorite
I don't know.
one
If it's a
is
lightsaber battle, I think lightsabers have
they
to
are
be there.
required.
Well, I'm saying
Um,
like if it's a lightsaber versus something that can also deflect a lightsaber,
Oh.
I think that counts.
What about Vader versus Obi-Wan in A New Hope? That fight scene is just so well done.
That
It's a
one,
banger.
I mean,
No.
if you
For
want,
its day and for its meaning and for what it conveys, it's not supposed to be a fight scene so much as it is.
Pathetic looking.
It's a
Well,
standoff.
kind of, yes.
actually, that's one of the most accurate fights there is. They're using legitimate kendo techniques.
Yeah, the whole style of it changed. It was kendo to begin with, and that was largely because it was partly because of the Eastern inspiration for the films. It was also because the actual lightsabers they were using weighed so much that kendo was one of the more sensible styles to mimic, because kendo batons basically are much heavier than almost any other sword type. But that one's not supposed to be this hugely impressive duel. That one is supposed to be Obi-Wan stalling for time, basically, and then allowing himself to be killed to allow Luke to escape. So it's not really supposed to be an impressive fight. For meaning, I would say it's got to be between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon, or Luke and Obi-Wan. Luke and Vader on Bespin, I think, of the two.
I think my favorite's probably in Return of the Jedi, the final.
I
lightsaber
agree with
battle.
that one. I think that
I
that
like
one's
the
better.
score is perfect. The
Yeah.
cinematography is perfect. That one, I really like that one. In
I
terms
still
of,
get
like,
chills to this day when the sequence
Yeah.
went right after Vader's like, like, sister, you have a twin sister.
Yeah,
that
The
whole part.
sister.
It's really-
Like that, I still get
love that
chills
scene.
when the music comes up and like Luke just
Oh, yeah.
goes like ham.
He's just going, what? Yeah.
It's a great moment because that is Luke essentially on the cusp of becoming Vader, and he does to Vader what Vader did to him. And I'll revise my thing. It's between, it depends what we're talking about. Are we talking about for dramatic meaning or for sort of technique and visual splendor?
A balance of all.
Whatever matters most to you.
If I was gonna say like technique, I'd say like the KOTOR cinematics, because those are just those.
Well, yeah,
pop
if we're
off.
allowed to add things from like games and stuff, that really opens it up like crazy.
Like the one where like the giant Sith ship runs into the Jedi temple and like knocks over all the pillars, and then like the hatch lowers and you just see a bunch of Sith red lightsabers light up.
Well,
and
if we're doing that, then the fight I had when it was me versus two of my friends in my garden, and I had Count Dooku's lightsaber, and I won one-handed, that is the best lightsaber fight there is.
Right.
Nah, but yeah, I think that the Return of the Jedi one, just the emotional weight to it, what it means. Like, does it have the greatest choreography out of all of them? No, but it has some of the better choreography.
Well, no, because it's Luke being unhinged.
Well, he was also. It was also
they
they were told to wield them differently for different fights, which makes it hard to. So like for Return of the Jedi, he was told to use it almost like a large broadsword. That's why he swings it like that. Like it's not like Whereas in the prequel trilogy, they were told it's more of a fluid kind of like almost like a fencing saber that you could do a lot of quick movements with.
Which makes more logistical sense because they are made of light. So so visually, the prequels just beat anything to do with.
The only thing that makes sense is having them have to use the Force to use lightsabers, because then you could put actual boundaries on the fights, and you can't just have a fucking schmuck like Finn pick up a lightsaber and be like, "Dirt? Oh, look, I can use this."
No, but he has the Force. Remember?
Well, then you have to go back and completely undo. What is it? Luke would die on Hoth because
fair.
GG.
I know myself.
Well, he uses the Force.
No. He would die on Hoth because he passes out and
the
Tauntaun. So
there are fan theories to tell us that Han Solo has the Force because of how much
he's the least Force sensitive human being in the history of Star Wars.
Chewie's got more Force sensitivity than Han.
I really want to go watch that fight scene from Return of the Jedi. Like that whole,
Yeah, I want to
like,
go watch
you know,
Return
that
of the
whole
Jedi
like
again,
moment of like, now your feelings have betrayed her.
It's annoying because it's one of the stronger films, but it's one of the stronger moments, but it's by far the weakest film of the OT, and it's one of my least favorite Star Wars films, just because the fucking Ewoks mostly, but other things as well. It's an annoying film.
Yeah, it definitely
The
has some
intro
of the
is
best
crazy.
moments, but it does overall. It's an inferior film to Empire.
Yes.
Like very.
It has
easily.
the highest highs and then the lowest lows.
It's a
Well, not
movie
the
about
lowest,
space
but
wizards.
pretty low.
Intended for children, yeah.
Intended for children.
Well, the geekiness is over.
It's never over.
That
It's
wraps
just
up
no.
all
It's
the
it's
super
just
chats.
it's just on Armistice. It's not. It's not over.
Postponed.
This is a part 1.
So 0 out of 10.
It's part
Terrible
16.
stream.
0 out
What the
of
hell are you
0,
talking
0 out of
about?
10 podcast.
No ending. Fuck it.
Bad stream.
True.
Well, let's go through and see what everyone's up to and plug your shit like you do in the bedroom. Let's go. Bagface.
You want me to
what do you
go
got?
first?
Who plugs their shit in the bedroom?
What?
What?
I mean,
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
there's
anymore.
some
It's
plugs that I wear in the bedroom, but you know, that's just to keep things interesting. Andrew, if you want to put some real hair on that mustache, hit me up.
Okay, all right.
I am my channel's been kind of quiet lately because I'm switching genres. So like this whole movie review thing I'm going to continue doing, but there's also going to be a lot of changes, and I'm going to talk a lot more about kind of society and
Social issues.
politics and things that I enjoy a lot, as well as movies, because I really do miss talking about that stuff. And I feel like there's a lot of people with really fucking horrible takes in this scene because they base their entire existence off of movies and think that that makes up all of society, and they're really fucking dumb. And I'm talking about people that I'll probably end up streaming with one day, so I won't say any names.
Listen,
But,
Dead Reckoning was good because it's not woke, all right? GG, boy.
Lesson, okay.
Listen, it's Matt Cat,
listen.
everyone.
It's mad.
It's
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want any of your problems being brought to my
Listen.
streams.
I like Aquaman. Listen.
Hey, he's allowed to like
Mother's
Aquaman's
arrived.
the best
but that's his
superhero.
mother that you're. That's the
my.
like the mother's voice. So she's like, "Listen, I don't understand it. He loves Aquaman. He won't shut up about it."
You know what? It keeps him
Bagface,
out of
they figured it
drugs.
out.
Oh, Chris Stuckman. No, actually, as I've been doing this, I kind of understand Chris Stuckman's takes more and more, in like the fact that as fun as it is shitting on movies, and I really enjoy doing it, I'm having a lot of trouble picking apart other people's artistic works and not feeling like shit about it, because I've been an artist. So I think a lot of the takes you're going to see from me are going to be a little more mild, and a lot of the takes on, you know, things like race swapping and stuff are going to be a lot more spicy. So yeah,
So by mild,
like
you mean I
this.
could turn down my volume? I don't have to turn down my volume before watching your videos anymore.
Oh, so I actually take my, so all of you do your audio wrong. I didn't want to tell Cynic this, but the person I base my audio levels off is Marquez Brownlee, because he's like, you know, the YouTuber that knows how to YouTube. And imagine that. So like y'all got your friggin' audio too quiet, and turn it up. But yes,
I know that.
I'm
Okay.
peeking it.
That's just my voice.
just some no, it's just some bagface. Just I get it. I get you. You're funny.
Bagface. I will talk to you about my audio afterwards, because
Okay,
it
cool.
can use. I know it can use
Same.
improvements.
Yeah, but if you're into you know, having a black guy yell at you about politics and telling you that you're probably stupid, feel free to stop by the channel. I'm almost at 900 subs, and I haven't done a video in like 2 weeks, so that's fucking weird.
Huh.
So
Sometimes it just
yeah.
happens like that.
Sometimes it just gotta be like that. And also go watch Cynic's videos, which I know you all do because you're here, but I put a lot of work into that shit, and I know he does as well. So support it all around.
But he puts
Yeah,
less
get him
in
to
now that you're
100K,
doing all of it.
Yeah, yeah. Cynic.
Hey, you got to have a
actually is
foundation
working-
somewhere,
Working
motherfucker.
less now.
Dark Hour, what are you up to, brother?
Well, I achieved monetization, so that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
You know, I'm officially a professional YouTuber with 23 cents in my my revenue stream over there.
$150 more, you get a payout, baby.
Oh yeah. Honestly, it's really not about that for me, but so I did do you know, a review video for Mission Impossible. So if anyone wants to go check that out, I am going to try and do an Oppenheimer Barbie combo. I've never done anything like that, so it's kind of an interesting project to me. And I'm actually starting a live stream show with Uninspired Reviewer, and Movie Cynic is going to be on it. And if Platoon ever answers my Twitter messages, he can pick a movie as well. So
I'll get there. I'm
I know
sorry.
I get like 15-page like responses from Platoon. I have to go back and remind myself what I asked like a while ago. But yeah, we actually officially named it. We were like kind of like, oh, we're idiots. Why don't we just call it the Uninspired Hours or so? Like, you know, the Uninspired Hour or so. It was like and we were like, the name was right there. So I actually just made the channel. We're going to repost that too. And yeah, so things are happening. A lot of things.
All the people who used to tell us you should call this podcast like the Cynical Platoon, or
that was me.
Yeah, I know. And now they're going to be feeling justified because that's what you did. So, oh no.
Oh no.
I mean, it was, I tried a couple of other things and they just did not work. Like they just did not roll off the tongue. So I was just like, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, you know, just trying to expand the horizons. So anybody wants to check out my stuff or what's coming down the pipeline, you know where to find me.
And Mr. Andrew,
the child is his. I've just seen your
the
thing.
Child.
The child.
Yeah, the
Isn't
child.
that what they call Grogu? Are you the Grogu of the best show in the universe?
Yes. OP and always right.
The best show in the universe, probably.
So I have a script for Fallout. I'm probably just not going to make a video about it because I don't care that much. And it's like it's a movie. And then or did I say Fallout or did I say Dead Reckoning?
You said Fallout.
It's the way you said that though. Oh, it's a movie.
I meant Dead Reckoning. Okay. Anyway, moving on. And then me and Bagface are starting a show called A Slight Tomfoolery. And that's starting Sunday next week. Yes.
Fuck yeah.
And then other than that, I'm working on my Temple of Doom video and tearing it apart because it's not a good movie and I'm tired of people thinking it is.
It's to be honest, of all the ones you could be tearing apart, I'm happiest with this one. I'm also not a fan.
Yeah. I will prove myself right. Listen, everyone's like, I got so many comments saying, "Oh, he's just being contrarian," and it's like, I'm not contrarian. I'm right. Okay, that's all I'm doing to say. All right, I am 100% right on this. This movie's trash. Okay, get over yourself.
Fuck. Little Platoon, what are you doing?
Oh goodness! Well, straight after this, back to even more Indiana Jones 5 because that is nearly 4 hours long. So there's lots of that to do.
4 hours?
Nearly 4. I think Brown, because I asked Brown to do the audio edit for me, and he just basically got rid of all the gaps between words that could conceivably exist. So it's down to 3 hours 30, but it's going to be longer than that once I re-add some of the gaps.
You do need gaps sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes gaps are good. So that will be a thing. I'd like to do a script for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, but if I do that, then Bagface has more work because I don't have time. I also need to do The Mandalorian Part 2, which will be out at some point, I think the first weekend of August, but now things get tricky because I also have a couple of holidays coming up. So there will be lots of stuff out, but I don't know exactly in what order. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, I released a video essay that I worked on for quite a bit with Bagface's help called Disney Death of an Empire. And it's doing quite well. And I think it's going to push me over the 100,000 subscriber plateau that I've been looking forward to.
What are the actual celebration plans for that?
I would like to do a celebratory stream, maybe stream it to, I don't know, both channels or something. I don't know, something fun.
Yeah.
I want to do something good fun. And bring on a bunch of guests, like everyone that wants to come on. Maybe reach out to like we'll schedule it around people, but I wanted to reach out, see if Drinker, Mahler, the crew wanted to come on.
Mhm.
And privately, some friends are flying in, and we're gonna party around Nashville. So that's that plan.
It's not so private anymore.
What about private is this? Because you've just revealed it on a stream and you're going out in public. So where's the private part?
All right. Well,
yeah, chat. Show up in Nashville.
I'm gonna wear a mask. And you won't know
now
who's
it's
who.
even easier to find.
We all need to print off platoon masks and wear them all night.
We are platoon.
And
Platoon
otherwise, for the actual channel itself, Barbenheimer. I don't know if I'm doing 2 reviews or not. Might be 1 video, but Bagface will. He is part of the channel now. He's doing the video editing because he fucking kills it and makes my videos better. So subscribe to his channel too, because I'm looking forward to whatever your hot takes are going to be now. That's gonna be fucking awesome. But no, he's a permanent member of the channel now as a video editor. So. But yeah, that's gonna be it until next week, folks. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
All right, chat. We love you. Thanks for the super chats, and we will see you next week on Little Platoon's channel. And see you on the re-up. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.